right, welcome in. Happy Friday. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks so much for joining us. Indiana news, politics, and government you're not going to find anywhere else. That's what we do here on the Rob Kendall Show. And we start today with an interesting question. Should you, as a poor middle-class person, whatever you consider yourself, should you pay for rich people's kids to go to school? That's the question. Should everybody get the same breaks for their kids to go to school, especially if it means the rich people's kids getting a break, if it means you are likely to face a tax hike via referendum? That's the question. Interesting article today in the Indiana Capital Chronicle about what is essentially universal school choice going into effect in the state of Indiana. And what that means is that essentially every kid has a value. Every child that goes to school in the state of Indiana has a dollar value assigned to them. And in the case of public school, that's how they get a big portion of their money. There's money that comes from the state. There's money that comes from property taxes. There's money that comes from the federal government. And so the more kids you have, and there are different dollar values designed, if you're a special needs kid or types of classes, all that sort of stuff. But for the sake of this argument, I'm trying to simplify this for you guys, something I can do here in 20 minutes. Every kid has a dollar value. And so the more kids your school has, the more dollars that flow in from the state of Indiana, obviously in addition to property taxes. And what the state of Indiana has said now is that those dollars follow the kid. Regardless of income, those dollars follow the kids. We call it essentially universal school choice. And lawmakers in 2011 started what they called a voucher program. And it was income-based. The goal of the voucher program was to help low-income kids, primarily in failing schools, saying, you don't have to go here. IPS, example 1A through 1Z. If you're a low-income person and you're stuck based on where you live with IPS, we don't want you to have to be stuck there. We're going to offer you what we call a voucher so that your kid can go to a better school district you otherwise might not be able to afford. And over time, the state of Indiana has phased out income limits on that voucher program. Basically saying whether you make $20,000 a year or $2 million a year, if you got a kid that's going to school, your kid has assigned dollar value, and wherever you send that kid, regardless of your income level, you're going to get whatever the credit is. Now, the credit, as of last year, was $220,000 was the income, what they call the income cap. That's the equivalent of $740,000. I'm sorry, 740% of the federal poverty level. And that allowed, by removing that cap, an additional 3,000 kids to be able to get the voucher. So the question is, should every single student, essentially every single student, now in the state of Indiana, get that dollar value regardless of what their parents make? And on the surface, I would say absolutely. If you pay taxes, if your kid goes to school, you should have the same rights regardless of what you make. Every kid has the right to an education in the state of Indiana. Every kid should have a right to a good education in the state of Indiana. Now, when we talk about the dollar value, obviously, different schools charge different amounts. Doesn't mean parents still won't be paying for their kids to get a private education. If your kid is worth $7,000 a year or $8,000 a year and the tuition is $10,000 a year, whatever school you choose to take your kid to, you got to pay $2,000 a year. And on the surface, we would say, and I've long been a supporter of school choice, because your kid shouldn't be beholden to a bad public education system. It's sort of like the post office, right? The post office has a monopoly on the mail. That's the reason the post office stays in business. Always preface by saying there are many fine people that work for the post office, but the post office as a company is a disaster. I mean, I don't think, even the people in the post office will tell you, the post office is a disaster. The only reason the post office stays in business is because the post office has a monopoly on the mail. And so in the case of education, for years, public school, unless you were one of the tippy-top people, had a monopoly on education. Unless you could afford, in a pre-voucher era, the $10,000 or $12,000 or even $8,000 or whatever the number is a year to send your kid to a private school, you were forced into your local public school system. That doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair. And it also stymies competition. It's one of the reasons the utility system is so screwed up. The utilities don't have to worry about competition. Once they're granted the rights to service an area, all they got to do is get stuff past the IURC. They can't lose business. You live in whatever town, you have to use these people. There's no incentive to be better. The same thing was true with the public education system. Now the public school system has an incentive, or at least they should, to have to be better. If you don't do a good job, people are going to send their kids somewhere else and take that money with them. The problem in all of this is not the idea of school choice. I'm a supporter of school choice. The problem is that school systems have the ability in Indiana, whenever they don't like the amount of money they're getting, to say, screw you people, we're going for a referendum. And one of the things that they are using, some of these school systems are using in their excuses, as we have a record number of referendums. This was a great last weekend. There's all sorts of anon accounts that like to fight with me on Twitter. And most of the time I just ignore them. Sometimes, though, if I can make a point out of what one of them says, I will engage with them. The anon counts are my favorite. What sort of life are you living where you have to operate behind an anonymous account on Twitter? Like, repeatedly. Like, these people will post. One of these anon accounts, it was like 2 days of posting about stuff related to me. It's like, what is going on in your world? Hey, sorry, I can't go to my kid's soccer game. Got to get on my anon account on Twitter and fight with Rob. But one of the things that one of these anon accounts was trying to say was it was my fault that there were all these referendums. That it was all my fault. That even though the property tax bill I didn't support passed, it was my fault. And even though the school district I'm in doesn't have a referendum, they're one of the few not having a referendum. Somehow all the other school referendums are my fault. Which I said, great. If you're going to say that I am so powerful that I somehow bullied lawmakers into passing a bill I don't even support, and I'm so powerful that I bullied my local school system into not having a referendum, I'll take that all day. I just wish people could decide what I am. Am I an irrelevant shock jock, or am I the guy that's so powerful I bully lawmakers into posting or passing bills I don't even support? So powerful I bully my local school system into not doing things. Whatever side it is, and I've said this for years, I'm willing to accept it. I'm an irrelevant shock jock that nobody listens to, or I'm so powerful that I bully lawmakers and the governor into doing things, including things I don't want. I'll accept it, but you guys got to decide what it is. But one of the things they're hanging their hat on now, these school systems are, which is apparently also my fault, even though I don't have a vote in any of it, is that the universal voucher program or universal school choice is taking money away from the school systems. And so as long as we live in a world where lawmakers, see, this is where lawmakers are talking out of both sides of their butt cheeks. Well, the school system is failing. We've got to allow you to have the ability to choose your school system. Great. Wonderful. All on board with that. On the other hand, though, they also then will say, well, we've got to allow the schools to have a referendum and let the public decide if they say they don't have enough money. But you can't say the schools are so bad, we got to give you universal school choice, and then on the other hand say, well, the schools have unlimited ability to raise your taxes. And that's what's happening here. You have an environment created by our government where they kind of get it right with the universal school choice, but then they totally negate that by allowing these same school systems, which they claim are failing to the point we have to have universal school choice, to raise your taxes whenever they want. And so we now live in a world where with the universal school choice, you, the poor and middle class, if you live in a school system that has a referendum and it passes, you are now subsidizing rich people's kids to go to very nice, fancy private schools because your taxes go up because their taxes aren't going into the public school system. You see how broken the whole thing is? And it comes back to, and this is not a class envy thing. It's not a thing where I say I'm against rich people's kids having the same rights or abilities as poor or middle class people's kids. It's a conversation about how as long as these referendums exist, as long as school systems have the ability to raise taxes anytime they want, you have an environment in which very wealthy people are getting their kids' education subsidized by you. That is the conversation that we need to have. That's what we needed to be talking about. And until two things happen. Number one, we fix the assessment system in this state in which you are not punished for an asset you're not capitalizing, and you're not punished based on what somebody else does. And school systems don't have the ability to raise your taxes anytime, or school systems have the ability to raise your taxes anytime they don't like whatever revenue comes into them. We're never going to have actual property tax reform. We're never going to have actual property tax relief. It's one of the things J.D. Prescott's plan, as nutty as it is to get rid of property taxes, which of course raises taxes overall by $4 billion, replacing property taxes with the tax on services. One of the things it does is it does get rid of referendums. It's one of the positives. It does eliminate the assessment system. One of the positives. It's not a bad plan other than the fact it exempts businesses, which already have massive property tax breaks and have for years in many cases. And it raises your overall tax burden. Those are my two issues with Prescott's plan. It's going to be fascinating because there are three plans that are going to be in front of the General Assembly this year. Look, the General Assembly is never going to say they made a gigantic mistake with property taxes. They did. They wouldn't listen 2 years ago. They're never going to admit, because these guys never do, hey, we really screwed up. But look at what they're presenting. There's three plans to address property taxes right now that are going to be in front of the General Assembly. Jeff Thompson, who screwed the whole thing up 2 years ago, year and a half ago, he's got a plan to make some tinkering and changes to the bill that he screwed up. Not going to fix anything. Ryan Mishler over in the Senate has a plan to revamp the property tax system, and Prescott's plan to repeal property taxes in favor of this business services property tax plan. The lawmakers are admitting to you on their actions, not with their words, because they're never going to do that, but with their actions, hey, we really messed up, and everybody's really upset. Hey guys, AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning takes incredible pride in cleaning homes and businesses. In fact, the whole business got started about 6 years ago when Amber, the owner of AJ's, She was managing one of the big cleaning services, and she was really upset about how the employees didn't seem to care about the details. So she started her own business, AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning. They service all of Central Indiana. You're going to see and smell the difference when you use AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning. Call today. Mention you heard about him on the Rob Kendall Show, and you're going to get an incredible $50 off your first clean. $50 off just by mentioning the Rob Kendall Show. AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning, 317-530-8184. 317-530-8148. 317-530-8148. AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning, 317-530-8148. Guys, help us grow the Rob Kendall Show. It's basically the only radio program or podcast program or any program anywhere for that matter that's dedicated to Indiana news, politics, and government. Daily program I'm talking about that you can't get anywhere else. Help us grow. There's 3 ways you can do it. We call it like, share, and subscribe. Number 1, like the feed. Wherever you're listening to us from, whatever platform you're on, like it, primarily YouTube. That got the thumbs up right there. Bam, hit that. Whether you're watching us live or on demand, really helps us grow the program. Share the feed out. If you got a Facebook, if you got a Twitter, let people know we're here. And last but certainly not least, subscribe to us on whatever platform you're on, YouTube, Apple, iHeart, Spotify, wherever it is. Rob Kendall Show. Like, share, and subscribe. That's how you can help us grow the Rob Kendall Show. Want to say a big thank you as well to Jason and Dana who hit our support button over at robkendallshow.com. Super generous. Thank you for that. What a great deal going on this month, by the way. Thanks to John McKinney, our fabulous sponsor at Black Sheep Plumbing. Right now, for the month of August, when you go to robkendallshow.com, if you like what we do, if you're like, hey, these guys are great, I shouldn't be a freeloader, I should throw them a few shekels. Support button, whatever amount you give for the month of August, up to $100, John McKinney, Black Sheep Plumbing, going to double that in a plumbing credit. So here's how it works. You go to robkendallshow.com. You hit that support button. Let's say it's $50. You're like, I think these guys did $50 worth of good this month. Bam. I send you a thank you note. It's an email. I say, thanks for supporting the show. We appreciate you. I say all sorts of nice things about you. If you need plumbing work the month of August, you call John McKinney, Black Sheep Plumbing. You say, I need a new water softener or a water heater, or my toilet's not working, or my sink's screwed up, whatever it might be. John's going to double that in a credit. Whatever you gave for the month of August, just show him that email up to $100. What a deal. All right, we got a bunch of local stuff to get to, including coming up here in a little bit. The Republicans are doing something fascinating with the Secretary of State's race. And that is they're trying to make it about everything but the Secretary of State's race. It's a brilliant strategy because they absolutely cannot run on the last 4 years of the office. They cannot run on anything Diego did. They've got to sweep Diego under the rug. That's the whole point of Max Engling running. And thus far, I think they're actually doing a pretty good job. And there's one thing that has happened that, at least in Ballard's case, he kind of got roped into. He kind of took the bait on. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. And that is what the Republicans are going to have to do, is make the Secretary of State's race about everything but the Secretary of State's race. However, first, can we get the audio? Is that all right? We good to go? Okay. This audio is unbelievable. And all of you people should be outraged about what you're about to hear. Michael Cohen has a new, I think it's a radio show, also a podcast, and Donald Trump agreed to go on with Michael Cohen. Now, for those of you who are like, Michael Cohen, wherever I heard that name, why should I be pissed off about this? Michael Cohen was the guy who was known as Trump's fixer for years, in Trump's business orbit, and then in his presidential campaign. When something needed to be done, he's a lawyer, and if Trump needed something, maybe he'd say a little dirty done, maybe not totally clean, he called Michael Cohen. And Cohen is the guy, remember, on audio tape, which he taped without Trump's knowledge. By the way, who tapes a coworker without their knowledge? What sort of guy does that in a workplace environment? Boy, what a rotten deed that would be. You guys know anybody like that? So Cohen was the guy on tape with Trump talking about the hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. Cohen's the guy that did the payment. And if you guys remember, that ended up putting Cohen in big boy prison. He ended up pleading guilty to 8 counts, including campaign finance violations, tax fraud, and bank fraud. Most of that stuff related to the Stormy Daniels payments. And Cohen then went on a years-long rampage about what a horrible person Trump was. And you guys remember he's on those news shows, radio interviews, podcasts. And it was, he said he violated campaign finance law at Trump's direction for the principal purpose of influencing the 2020 presidential election. And that's what the Stormy Daniels payments were all about. But Cohen's also a known liar. Like there's so many of these people in Trump's orbit where they kind of prove Trump's a skis bucket as a person. But then they're also like, you're even worse. You ever notice how many of these people in the Trump orbit fit that description? Yeah, okay, they got the dirt on Trump. But look at you. And Cohen spent years saying horrible things about Trump. And Trump rallied the public against Cohen. I mean, one example of a known lie told against Trump was that in 2018, Cohen pleaded guilty to lying to Congress about efforts to build a Trump Tower in Moscow. It just simply didn't happen. He lied. This guy absolutely tried to destroy Trump. Trump spent years firing back at him, telling us what a horrible human this guy was. And then the other day, Trump went on this guy's radio program, podcast, whatever you want to call it. I heard this and I wanted to puke. I couldn't believe this. And these two guys are acting like old buddies. And I'm listening to this going, you know, there's a lot of people over the years who have said Trump has no core, he has no conviction, he doesn't stand for anything. It's all about whatever helps him in the moment. And it's hard to have listened to this interview and dispute it. Given all the stuff Cohen tried to do to Trump, given all the things Trump said about Cohen, given how Trump urged us, the public, to be against Cohen, about how Trump was a victim and all the things Cohen said. Fake news! Attacking your favorite president! You people, they're against you. It's not me, it's you. And then he's yucking it up with this guy. They're like old friends. I'm going to play you some of this audio. I was outraged by this, and you should be too. So the first clip is Cohen essentially. So Trump says this, and Cohen doesn't deny it and goes along with it. That Trump's assertion that basically Cohen lied for years about Trump. So Trump says it. Cohen basically rolls right along with it. And these two guys, I mean, if some guy tried to put you in prison, would you be going on his radio show or his podcast and be like, hey, it's good times again, baby. Yeah, we're old friends. These aren't two guys who had a disagreement. One guy went to prison because of the other guy, and the other guy almost got put in prison, almost got impeached, almost got taken down because of the other guy. And here we are. It's like pro wrestling, right? I feel like we have been in the middle of a pro wrestling storyline listening to this, where it's all predetermined. These guys go back behind the curtain and they're shaking hands and going, ha, we got him, didn't we? Listen to this.
You and I have obviously traveled a pretty rocky road together. Do you remember, sir, when I went on CNN with Breonna Keeler and she told me that you were underwater in the polls, and I responded with those famous 2 words, says who, which became some worldwide meme.
A good advocate, and then they weaponized you like nobody's ever been weaponized, like few have been.
Well, maybe just you and I, sir.
And you, yeah, me too, but I don't consider mine, mine was at a level that nobody's ever seen before. But they weaponized you. They weaponized a lot of people. And I respect the fact that you recanted everything you said. And
You and I have obviously.
We're not talking about neighbors who had a property line disagreement. Yay, Fred, you know you were 2 feet on my side when you put your fence up. And it goes on for, we're talking about people went to prison over these two guys feuding. He tried to put Trump in prison. Well, I respect you. You recanted. It's all fine. What are we doing here? And what is he doing here? There's some people who think this is like Stockholm syndrome. If you guys are familiar with that, where like somebody who's been taken advantage of or abused or held hostage or whatever, they then begin to crave the acceptance of the person that has done the deed to them, that they act like they're really good friends and they really love the person. Like, there's some people who speculate that's what Cohen's going through. This is unbelievable. And this went on for a long time. Okay, here's more. Cohen, you will hear, Cohen actually calls Trump boss again. He actually refers to him as boss, and then Cohen tries to claim all the media, including the people that he sucked up to, the people that he praised, the people he curried favor with, he gave validity to for years, are basically rotten and liars about Trump. Listen to this.
Literally put out all of the accomplishments, because what's happening, boss, you remember when I was by your side, I literally used to analyze the polls, right? And you remember how much attention that I used to pay to that methodology? I would come in, I would say to you, they're claiming that you're 31%, that you're underwater, but I showed you that
the polls are crooked. The polls are...
Exactly.
So the reporters, as you know, are crooked, but many of them. You have some great ones, too, but for the most part, it's really dishonest.
But the sample
reporting.
Size is roughly...
When you read the New York Times, it's so dishonest. When you read these things, and they're not doing well. Look, the reason they're not doing well is because they've lost a lot of credibility. And now you do have great journalists. You do have great reporters also. Many people are very good. Very, very good. I can name them, but by naming them, I'll leave some out. But you also have a lot of people that see how good things are with the economy is a renaissance. There's never been anything like it. We had the greatest economy ever in my first term. This is going to blow it away. This is just going to blow it away.
The economy's great, guys. Have you not figured it out? It's amazing. Things are going splendidly. You're very lucky to be living right now. Again, look, people repair relationships all the time. This is not about that. But what happened with these guys and the allegations that they made back and forth about each other? That's not something you repair. There's something very off and very wrong about all of this. And again, it comes back to, it gives a lot of credence that there is no core with Trump whatsoever. The only Trump belief is, can you help me in the moment? One other clip I wanted to play, and obviously Cohen lets him get away with it. Cohen's interest in this now is he wants back in the spotlight. I mean, everybody's getting something out of this. Don't you? I assume you guys realize this. Cohen's out of prison. He wants relevance again. He knows getting affiliated with Trump will be his chance to get financial opportunities, etc. He wants listeners for this show. Trump obviously craves any person that can go, you were wrong. Thanks for saying it. I'm great, I know. Oh, sure, you tried to put me in prison. Sure, you recorded me without my consent. What sort of coworker records another coworker in the workplace? Can you imagine doing that? Like in a workplace environment? But one other clip. Trump again. Look, it's gaslighting at this point. The Iran stuff is gaslighting. He is repeatedly saying Iran is going great. He is the Baghdad Bob guy at this point. Remember during the Iraq War, the second one, the Bush II war in the 2000s? We're in Iraq. We're closing in on Baghdad. The Iraqi soldiers are like throwing their weapons at the Americans. Please take them. And the spokesman guy is like, no, it's fine. We're winning. Saddam's army has never been stronger. And everybody's like, but sir, we have video of your, no, everything's right. And at one point he tried to claim the airport was open and it was shut down and like all, this is what Trump is with Iran. This is crazy. And in this clip you're about to hear, he at one point bizarrely claims gas was down to $1.85 a gallon in the second term. Guys, I'm trying to be fair here. I think I remember gas getting into the twos during his second term last year. I think I remember gas in the twos. Maybe it was $2.85 at one point. Do any of you ever remember? Maybe you used your Kroger Fuel Points card. Maybe did any of you, even with your Kroger Fuel Points card, get to $1.85? I mean, he is just patently lying here. Listen to this. Take a listen.
And now with Iran, they will never have a nuclear weapon. We're essentially controlling, and soon controlling the Straits. We're doing very well with Iran. The press doesn't like to say that, although a lot of the press does say it, because the Navy's gone, the Air Force is gone, the leadership is gone. Part of the problem is so many of the leaders are gone. It's not easy to make a deal. Nobody knows who's leading. But I think the public sees what we're doing because Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. And I think the public sees it, and I think they appreciate it and they respect it. And I tell them they'll be a little higher for your energy cost, but they'll be a little bit higher for gasoline. I had it down to $1.85 a barrel. And then I said, but we have to make a journey to the Middle East because we can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And that's what happened. And we've been very effective. We've wiped them out, militarily wiped out. Now they have some missiles. They have some drones. Their capacity to build them is very low right now compared to what it was 5 months ago. It was 5 months ago they were knocking them out. Now it's very hard for them to knock out anything. They're in bad shape. They have inflation that's 300%. Their currency is valueless. It's virtually valueless.
Sure.
Their military is not being paid. And so they're in bad shape. But
guys, I mean, let's examine this. First of all, any of it. I mean, the YouTube chat, anybody, $1.85 a gallon, at any point, or anywhere close to that. So Iran's got no Navy. They got no Air Force. They got no leaders. They got no money. Why is oil well over $90 a barrel then? If all of these things are true and we've won the war and it was so easy, and they've got a couple drones. They got a few missiles left. We don't even know who we're negotiating with. Well, who'd you sign the MOU with? You signed it with someone. It's gaslighting. The guy's lying to the entire country. And the Republican Party is allowing him to get away with it. I heard yesterday that there is a projection oil's going to go to $150 a barrel. This strait is not open. I mean, there are some ships that are getting through who are turning off their trackers. There are some ships that are getting through, but not like anything you would associate with the normal flow of inventory. How is it that a country that has no Navy, no Air Force, you don't even know who the leaders are, they got no money, then what's going on here? How is oil well over $90 a barrel? How could these things be possible? And why haven't we won this war if they have no Navy, no Air Force, no leadership, no money? At some point, our party, the Republican Party, has to say enough of this crap. Stop it. It's clearly not true, and we have to put a stop to it. It is ridiculous what is going on in the Middle East, and no one wants to stand up or do anything about it. Somebody who will do something about something is helping you buy or sell a house, and that's Anthony Gary, Indy Dwell Real Estate. He doesn't just list homes for sale. He gets them noticed. He gets them shown. He gets them sold without you losing sleep or sanity. Anthony Gary, he's trained with some of the top negotiators on earth and is ready to help you achieve your real estate goals. Put Anthony's expert selling strategy and experience to work for you. Call or text Anthony Gary, 317-756-1159, 317-756-1159, 317-756-1159. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, the Republicans in Indiana they've made it clear. They are trying to hang on to the Secretary of State's office by talking about everything but the actual Secretary of State's office. Not a bad strategy when Diego's been running the Secretary of State's office for the past 4 years, and thus far, they're doing pretty well with it. We'll tell you everything you need to know when we come back. You're watching Rob Kendall Show. Do you have a dog but don't have a fenced-in yard? Your HOA won't allow a fence? Worried about having to watch your furry friend anytime you go outside? Avoid the blazing hot summers and freezing cold winters with All-American Dog Fence. All American Dog Fence is the cost-effective, easy-to-use in-ground fence system to keep your dog secure and give you peace of mind anytime they're outside. All American Dog Fence backs their Pet Stop products with a lifetime warranty. Call or text All American Dog Fence at 317-862-6606 or visit their website at allamericandogfence.com. Mention the Rob Kendall Show and get $200 off a new installation.
DC politicians don't care. Buying stocks with insider information, they get filthy rich. But if you did it, you'd get locked up. Thankfully, there's one fighter on our side. Senator Todd Young is pushing to ban all congressional stock trading forever. He's never traded a single stock while in Congress. Young's a Marine who does the right thing. Contact Senator Todd Young. Thank him for standing up for us and for fighting to ban congressional stock trading.
Buying a home or thinking about refinancing? Work with someone local who understands the central Indiana market. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps homebuyers and homeowners explore options for purchasing, refinancing, or even consolidating higher interest debt through their mortgage. Gary's approach is simple, clear advice, and personalized guidance, so you can make confident decisions. Visit loansbygary.homes to learn more or get started today. You've got nothing to lose but dollars on your mortgage payment. So call for a free, no-obligation quote, 317-695-5179. Gary Tedrow, NMLS number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender.
When you got nothing to run on trying to convince people the other guy sucks worse than you. It's a great strategy, and it's what the Republicans are doing here in Indiana, and it's what they're doing nationally. And thus far, at least as it relates to one big office in Indiana, not doing a bad job with it so far. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks for joining us. Indiana news, politics, and government you're not going to find anywhere else. Hey, you guys got a leaky chimney, water in the basement, cracks around the exterior of your home? Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants is your authority for chimney repair, tuck pointing, foundation repair, crawl space to basement conversions, basement waterproofing, and more. Bramwell Mackay doesn't offer quick patches. Their team of 40-year master masons and industry experts address the root cause and provide solutions that last lifetimes. Your home is one of your biggest investments. Treat it that way. Bramwell Mackay, your masonry foundation and chimney specialist. So the Capitol Chronicle has an article out today about how the Republicans are trying to make progress, daylight, about the idea of men and women's sports or banning men and women's sports. And one of the things, if you look across our country, you realize the Republican platform for the midterms is how unelectable the Democrats are. You're hearing very little from Republicans about their own supposed accomplishments of the past year and a half. Now, you're hearing it from Trump. I mean, you're hearing fantasy land from Trump. But you're not hearing from most of the rank and file, the House candidates, the Senate candidates, now that they're out of primaries and into general election mode, where Trump becomes an albatross rather than a help, about how great the last year and a half under the Trump administration has been. You look at these campaigns, and it's how bad it's going to be if the other side gets in there. Now, that's not a great strategy. It doesn't have a track record of working. See what the Republicans tried to do with Obama in 2008. Remember, you're coming at the end of the Bush years, right? And everybody's pissed off about Iraq, and the economy's not great. And then you obviously have the full economic collapse. But even in the lead up to the economic collapse, before we knew how bad things were, the Republicans were trying to tell you, rather than the things that they had done because people were unhappy with the direction of the country, they were trying to tell you how bad it was going to be if Obama got in there. He's a this, he's a that. I mean, for the most part, he was a this and a that. But people vote on the moment, not the unknown. And people looked at the economy, especially after the financial collapse in the summer of '08 and the Iraq War and all these other things, and they said, this doesn't mean anything. Okay, so his pastor's a nutbag. So what? Mine might be too, right? You know, it didn't resonate. And other campaigns throughout history of parties who were in power, look at just the Trump reelection in 24. What did the Democrats run on? They tried to tell you the economy you were experiencing wasn't the economy you were experiencing. Things were actually really great. Wall Street was awesome. And, you know, Trump's horrible. Didn't work. Republicans won. And so that's the national Republican platform, is they're going to tell you everybody's an El Said on the Democrat side, and that's why you got to vote for us. Generic ballot, according to some of the most recent polls, show Republicans down as much as 8 points. I don't think that's going to go well. They may be able to hold off some Senate races, like in Michigan. That may work. But across the country, probably not a winning strategy, especially in the House of Representatives. The Republicans here in Indiana, in the big office, they're trying the same thing. The Republicans have nothing to point to with the last 4 years in that Secretary of State's office and go, wow, we can run on that. It's Diego Morales, a guy who, according to Todd Rokita, had so many scandals, plural, that they had to recant their endorsements, Banks, Rokita, these other people, and put a new guy in there, Max Engling, in terms of running for the office. I mean, process that. The current Secretary of State had so many scandals, plural, that the Attorney General and a U.S. Senator had to recant their endorsements and put a new guy in to run. And the reality is that Diego Morales is the Republican Party. You can't separate them because the Republican Party allowed Diego Morales to do everything that he did. The Republicans are in charge of everything in our state. At any point, they could have stepped in and they could have said, we're done here. No more money for you unless you tell us who paid for India. No more money for you unless you fire the brother-in-law. No more money for you unless you turn in the SUV. No more money for you if you give any more no-bid contracts to campaign donors. They didn't do any of that. They kept feeding the beast. The Republicans are Diego. Diego is the Republicans. Einhorn and Finkel. Finkel and Einhorn. Same guy. And so the Republicans have absolutely nothing to run on in the Secretary of State's office. It's a disaster. It's a dumpster fire. So what they're doing, and wisely so, if you have nothing to run on, is they're trying to run on everything but the Secretary of State's office, especially where they think the competition is most vulnerable. And that brings us to this article in the Capitol Chronicle where Max Engling, the Secretary of State candidate for the Republicans, is trying to make the election right now. One of his key issues is men playing women's sports or men not being allowed to play women's sports. And thus far, with one of the candidates who he's very worried about and should be, he scored some points because the candidate let him do it. He walked into a stupid situation. He walked into a bad situation ill-prepared, and he revitalized the story that gives Engling an opportunity to talk about something other than what a disaster the office of Secretary of State has been under the Republicans. Now, before we talk about what Ballard did and the mistake Greg Ballard made, let's remind you what the Secretary of State's office actually is. It's an administrative position. It has no actual power other than that given to it by the General Assembly. That's why it's ludicrous when these people are like, if Bo Bai gets in there, our elections are going to become California. Nobody's going to be showing voter ID. People are going to be voting 7 days after the election. It's insane. It's insulting. The Secretary of State is an administrator of the will of the General Assembly. take out the fact that Bai has already said he fully supports voter ID. Even if he wanted to do all these crazy radical things, he couldn't do them. By the way, you think Bo Bai is running for Secretary of State just to be a Secretary of State for 8 years? You're dreaming. He wouldn't do that stuff even if he wanted to because it won't help him for the next thing. But that's what the Republicans are going with because they can't run in the office. The Secretary of State's not a lawmaker, and their administrative functions are regulated to the following areas. Look, I'm going to read you the primary jobs of the Secretary of State. You will notice economic development in a foreign country ain't on there anywhere. Go to India for 10 days to recruit business ain't on there anywhere. They act as the chief elections officer. They oversee state election laws. They run the statewide voter system. They certify results, or in the case of Diego, you throw out results you don't like with the Spencer Deary election. Business services, they manage corporate records. They handle new business charters. They register trademarks. They enforce the state security laws to try to prevent fraud. They do auto dealership. They license and regulate motor vehicle dealerships. They commission public notaries. And they help preserve official state records and the state seal. Like those are the primary jobs. I mean, the big ones obviously are elections and businesses. There ain't nothing on here about going to India for 10 days and cutting economic development deals with who knows who. But they don't have any policy positions whatsoever. Their job, I mean, they can have them, they can express them, but at the end of the day, they do nothing other than what the General Assembly tells them to do. It's why the whole Diego thing is so infuriating. It's so ridiculous. So knowing what a dumpster fire the past 4 years have been in that office and that the Republicans are to blame, the Republicans are grasping for anything they can get to get people to not pay attention to the job they've actually done. And Greg Ballard has some major vulnerabilities. Greg Ballard, the independent running for Secretary of State. And one of them is his time as mayor of Indianapolis. Now, he's got some good things he can run on. The crime, he brought the Super Bowl, all these sorts of things. I mean, compared to Hogshead, he's been an A-plus mayor. But there's a lot of things Ballard did, and we've talked about him before, that those aren't going to play well in ads to conservatives. Now, the average person, I don't know if they care. I don't think so. But one position that Ballard is vulnerable on politically is that in 2022, he came out in support of Holcomb, the governor at the time, vetoing a bill that would have banned men playing in women's sports. And Ballard, at the time, said, look, the IHSAA is policing this issue themselves. It's not that I want men and women's sports. It's the IHSAA is policing this issue themselves. There's no accounting of this happening or having been allowed to happen. We don't need government intervention in an issue that is not a problem. If the governing body is doing the job already as he describes himself, a small government Republican, which is kind of ridiculous given how he ran the city of Indianapolis. Blue line, or a blue Indy rather, not small government. Cricket Stadium, not small government. But his position was, as a supposed small government Republican, I was not in support of government intervention where a problem did not exist that required government help. And that's a fine position to have in terms of a principled position. Politically, though, the headline is Ballard against bill to ban men and women's sports. It leaves you very politically vulnerable. Because, and we've talked about this with you guys before, there's two things in politics. Number one, it's the old wrestling phrase. It's the old way they used to write pro wrestling sagas. If you confuse them, you lose them. If you confuse your audience, they're not going to stay through the storyline. Same thing with soap operas or anything else. You got to make it so that it's easy to understand. You can sit down and you can start watching and you can get it. Good guy, bad guy. This guy hates this guy because of A, B, and C. This guy's trying to get revenge for X, Y, and Z. Good story. Pro wrestling storylines are easy to understand. You can sit down watching in the middle. You can get it. Same thing in politics. You confuse them, you lose them. Now you've muddied the waters, right? Well, Ballard said he was for Holcomb vetoing this bill, which Holcomb ultimately did. People don't stick around to see why you might have been. It's the headline. The other part of it is if you're explaining, you're losing. If you can't fit it on a napkin in the modern political climate, you're in big trouble because people have the attention span of a gnat. It's why I've always said it's door hanger elections. You put 3 or 4 things on a door hanger, that's your campaign. Whatever people can see in the 30 seconds it takes them to take that door hanger from the door to the trash, that's your campaign. And Ballard has violated both of those because now he has to explain to people. First of all, the headline's bad. Ballard supports veto on ban of men and women's sports. And he has to then explain it. And so he went on my old employer a couple weeks ago. And in my old time slot, which hilariously, the Capitol Chronicle had to refer to as a WIBC radio show because it still has no name and they still don't have permanent hosts. I've been gone for 8 months and there's still no permanent host or no permanent name. So they always like it was the Kendall and Casey show or the Hammer and Nigel show, or he went on Tony. They can't do it. It's a WIBC radio show. It has no name. It has no permanent host. 8 months later, things are going splendidly over there. But he went on that time slot. I can't even call it a radio show. He went on that time slot. And he got asked about his remarks in support of Holcomb vetoing that bill that would have banned transgender sports. And he basically doubles down on the position he had 4 years ago, in which he was trying to say the issue doesn't exist in Indiana, or didn't at the time. The IHSAA was properly policing it, and the Republican principle should be of less government, and it is not a principle of the Republican Party anymore. It hasn't been for quite some time, but he's trying still to explain why he was against the bill in 2022. He said, quote, I said sports organizations have handled this so far, and they seem to be handling it. I thought that was a pretty reasonable, I would say even Republican answer at the time. The problem is society's changed since then, big time. And society has moved rapidly on the side of keep men the hell out of women's sports. And if the government's got to pass a law to ensure it doesn't happen, we're fine with it. And Ballard didn't say that. He didn't say, hey, at the time this is my position, I recognize it's become more rampant. I recognize that the IHSAA maybe can't enforce it today like it could then. In hindsight, it was probably good to have that bill. I am, whatever, right? He doesn't say that in the interview, though. He did go on to say the right answer is we have to protect our girls and women in sports, and boys should not be playing in their sports. Men should not be playing in women's sports. This is not a hard question. This is a common sense question. I'm sorry, that was Maxing. I'm sorry, let me back up. Max Engling then went on the same radio time. You can't call it a show because it's not a show. He went on the same radio time, which still doesn't have a name or a permanent host, and said, quote, I do not need a poll to tell me the right answer here. The right answer is we have to protect our girls and women in sports, and boys should not be playing in their sports. Men should not be playing in women's sports. This is not a hard question. This is a common sense question. Couple of things. And this is on Ballard. And one of the things we talked about when Ballard got in the game, decided to run, I said, look, the guy's not a young guy anymore. Not that older people can't be successful in running for public office, but he's not a young guy anymore. He was in his early 50s when he was elected mayor. He's in his early 70s now. He's been out of the game for a decade. Does he have the stamina? Does he have the strength? And does he have the, the quickness to be able to move, which is necessary in a campaign like Secretary of State? Does he have the insight necessary or the thinking necessary to not put himself in positions where he's vulnerable? And in the case of going on this radio time slot, he made a huge mistake. He put himself in a bad position because the guy asking the questions both to Engling and to Ballard is a massive supporter of Max Engling. He's a big Republican cheerleader, which is fine. Everybody does their own radio the way they want it done. And the listeners vote with their radio dials. That's who you get judged by in the radio business. But you can't go on a program where the person you're doing the interview with is a supporter of the other guy and not think you're going to have that question and not know your audience and not have a prepared answer for that. That's on Ballard. You agreed to go on the show. You know who the host is. You know the audience. And he seemed pretty unprepared for it. Now, Ballard replied back because then obviously the Engling people latched onto this and they made a huge deal out of it because they don't want to talk about the Secretary of State's office. Engling wants to talk about everything but the Secretary of State's office because it's so bad. And see, this is where Ballard screwed up. He's allowed this to be an issue rather than keeping focus on Diego Morales. He said, quote, "Let me be clear. Boys don't belong in girls' sports nor in their locker rooms. That's common sense and it always has been. Both parties have turned this issue into a purity test to distract you from the fact that neither are addressing what Hoosier voters around the state tell me they care most about: elected leaders who serve the people and not a political party." Nobody thinks Greg Ballard wants men and women's sports, or no rational person. But the current position of most Americans is the system has been abused. Maybe not in Indiana. Maybe it hadn't been. But in other places, it certainly has been. And people recognize, as common sense people, hey, the system here will be abused eventually. And so while Ballard's position may be rooted in principle of, hey, the government doesn't need to be involved in somewhere where there's not a problem, it put him on defensive, having to explain what his position is and why. It allows Engling off the hook of talking about what Ballard and I should be wanting him to talk about, which is how corrupt and unethical and incompetent the Secretary of State's office, which has been supported by the Republicans, has been over the past 4 years. And it allows the Republicans to play offense on an issue that they feel comfortable with. Now, Bai gets it, right? Bo Bai got asked about this and immediately told the Capitol Chronicle, "I support the ban." The Bais ain't making those mistakes. Quote, "I think we should not have men playing women's sports, and our state has already passed a law outlawing this," Bai said in an interview. "So, in fact, it's a non-issue in our state." Bam. And I guarantee you, he went back to telling everybody how bad Diego was. That's how you got to handle it. Greg Ballard has an opportunity to be a very important candidate. He has a lot riding on, or a lot of people, I should say, have a lot riding on Ballard being successful. Successful is getting the 10% to give the Lincoln Party primary ballot access, which will open up hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people otherwise excluded from running for public office being able to participate. He's got to play offense in areas where the offense helps him instead of playing defense on a topic that hurts him. I don't think for a second Greg Ballard wants men and women's sports, but he's on the wrong side of where the public is in terms of government intervention on this issue, and he allowed Engling to score points, and he did it to himself by going on a show where he had to know the host is supporting a candidate. He's got to get better than that. It's going to hurt him big time later on in the election. Ballard's smart guy. I think he'll learn from it, but hey, good job by the Republicans. If you got nothing to run on, point out how bad the other guy is. That's the whole strategy. That's the whole strategy. Hey, guys, coming up here in just a moment, Jim Merritt is going to join us. 30 years in the Indiana Senate. Nobody knows Indiana government like him. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. Andy Zay suing the governor and the governor firing back. The Spencer Deary recount. Does Jim Merritt think, based on the filings from Spencer Deary, that those votes should have been thrown out that cost him the Senate race? Chris Garton being selected to head the Senate next year. Whole bunch of stuff to get to. Before we do that, though, whether you're buying your first rental property or growing an investment portfolio, financing matters. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps investors explore loan options designed for rental properties and long-term wealth building. As a local mortgage advisor, Gary works one-on-one with investors to help them understand their financing options and create a strategy that fits their goals. Learn more at loansbygary.homes. Gary Tedrow, Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 179207, equal housing lender. We'll take a break. We're back with Jim Merritt. Lots of big stuff going on around the state. We'll get to it all next. You're listening to Rob Kendall Show.
I'm Anthony Gary. I started Indy Dwell Real Estate because too many friends, family members, and neighbors had real estate experiences that lacked compassion, explanation, and expertise. You deserve someone in your corner with the heart of a teacher, simplifying every step of the buying or selling process. When you hire me, you get me. Start to finish, you'll never be handed off. No stress, no surprises, just the expert guidance and results you deserve. Anthony Gary, Indy Dwell Real Estate. Call or text 317-756-1159. 317-756-1159.
Did you know Honeysuckle Hill in Brazil offers more than just a fabulous made-from-scratch meal at the bistro? It also has an adjoining cottage, great for a perfect, relaxing weekend away with a scenic waterfront view. The cottage offers 3 bedrooms, 2 baths with spa-like tile showers, full kitchen, living room with fireplace, laundry facilities, and a full deck overlooking the lake. And Andy, one of the owners, delivers breakfast in a picnic basket at 8:30 each morning. Plan the perfect weekend away at the scenic Honeysuckle Hill property on the water in beautiful Brazil. Book today by visiting their website at honeysucklehillb.com.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Nobody knows government like this guy. Welcome back. It's the Rob Kendall Show. 30 years in the Indiana Senate. The great Jim Merritt. Hello.
Hello, Robert.
That's kind of weak. You want to give it another shot?
Hello, Robert.
People wait all week for that. Now, you were not able to be on Statehouse Happenings with us this week because you've hit the speaker circuit.
I have.
And you had a big speech to give, but I said, hey, well, I got a lot of stuff I need to talk with you about.
And I got to sell books.
Yeah, that's right. You tell us, before we get into that, tell us about the book.
Well, it's lessons learned, and it...
Is it about not being friends with me ever again?
Well, I keep coming back.
Lessons learned.
Yeah.
They can only take your dignity from you once, Jim.
Yeah, I wrote it for 4 years from 2022 to 26, and it's an after-action report about COVID and what we should be doing going forward, offering solutions.
Are you sorry? Well, you weren't there. I mean, it wasn't you, it was the governor, but I still don't think anybody's sorry they did all the lockdowns, the mandates. Like, I think if you hooked Holcomb up to some sort of truth serum right now, he'd be like, I'm glad I did it. I'd do it again.
Well, I think people wouldn't voluntarily lock down next time because they don't feel they had justice. They don't think they're being truthful to people. There were so many people speaking out as experts that the idea of truth and credibility and it wasn't presence. Only present was fear, and people don't like fear.
All right, we got a bunch of stuff to get to.
Yes,
we got to start with your two wheelhouses, which are the Senate and utilities.
Mm-hmm.
The Andy Zay lawsuit is fascinating, and now Braun's response back. Mm-hmm. So Braun administration, Steve Carter, essentially claims in this document that Zay spent thousands of dollars on ties and scarves after he was appointed to the IURC, which bans political activity.
That is a no-no.
Okay, so it's because Abdul was trying to say yesterday, he's like, well, is spending political money political activity? I was like, kind of seems like political activity to me.
Yeah,
you know, what say you?
I am certain that is illegal and frowned upon and not right. And, there are so many mistakes made, and this is just the newest.
Okay. You're a man of fine dress. I, on the other hand, am a man that looks like this, okay? And I asked my old man this yesterday. I was like, how in the hell do you spend $3,091 on scarves and ties? Is that possible?
I would think that they're trying to feather the nest of whoever was making those and probably spending out his campaign fund. He probably had $3,000 left, and he just kind of emptied the account.
I mean, what's the most expensive tie you've ever owned?
Oh, gosh, probably $80 tie. Maybe.
And you are a fine dressed man.
Yes, I sold clothing, so I do appreciate nice clothing. And yes, that is a lot of money for ties and scarves.
And I would think it's made, and Carter makes it sound like this in the documents, it should be known once you go to that IURC that you're not allowed to do political activity.
Well, that's the first week of January is when then Senator, then Commissioner Zay went through a training. You have to, and I've said this on this program and many other programs, it is you're almost like in a court of law. You're a commissioner, and you have to understand all the rules and regulations, and obviously Zay did not.
Because judges are banned from political activity
Absolutely.
too, right?
Yes.
For that very reason.
Yes, you want them to be, them be in the middle, standing on a strong foundation that they can make decisions that are fair.
Okay, then in the document they claim he spent $1,900 at St. Elmo. Again, out of the campaign account, after he's on the IURC, like a half a month or whatever. Merritt, you're a man of fine dining. How in the world do you spend $1,900 at St. Elmo, even as expensive as it is? What'd he bring? His 7 generations of family? Like, how do you even do that?
Yeah, well, you'd almost have to bring 8 or 9 people to dinner with you.
Yeah.
And mistake number 2, you've gotten. He must have missed a day of training.
Because, but he's a senator.
Yeah,
you like he fell off the turnip truck.
You have got to understand the rules, and he was probably spending out his account, his bank account at his Zay for Senate.
Because there's a hotel supposedly on there too. Now the Hyatt place. You ever stayed at the Hyatt place?
No,
it's nice. It looks pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm Indianapolis.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Well, that's my point. Which got people asking, nobody's at, like, what was he doing with the $1,900 St. Elmo bill? Because I don't ever recall anyone ever going, oh, that steak, it wore me out to the point where I can't drive home.
Yeah.
What was he doing that he couldn't go home?
The question was who actually attended that dinner. Yeah. That's really the question that we have is who attended the dinner. Now, if it was family and he was just thanking volunteers for all the years of work, that's one thing. But bottom line is once you agree, once you're sworn in as a commissioner at the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, you're held to a higher plane. And I tried to, every candidate I talked to, I tried to educate them that you have got to be above everything and act like a judge.
This, when they first had said it was for a cause and they, laid this stuff out, I said, look, there's no ways they could be that stupid. It appears if the documents submitted to the court are correct, he may have been that stupid. I mean, I can't imagine Braun's making this stuff up, but it seems like they got him pretty red-handed if this is the case.
Yeah, ignorance of the law, it is no pardon. You've got to understand exactly what you can and what you can't do, and hopefully when he filed this lawsuit, he knew what was coming.
He had to know they were going to fight back. Now, he's basically saying what he's hanging his hat on is, hey, Braun went out and did all these interviews. IBC, whoa. They asked him about me getting fired. He didn't talk about any of this stuff. He talked about AES and my decision on AES. I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens here because he's right. Braun never mentioned this stuff until now, the court filing. And the court filing basically says, well, it doesn't matter what else was said. He did do these things, and that's for cause.
Well, that's very neat for the Braun to have a case like that. And if they can get a stoppage on discovery on anything that Zay wants to talk about, then it's a much different case.
Because
no question about it.
There's a real, he wants to, it appears, put Braun under oath. That would be fascinating. Do you ever remember, you're such a historian, was a governor ever put under oath that you can remember?
No, I remember President Clinton.
Yeah, but in this Indiana.
But no, I do not remember, I do not recall any governor being on the stand and being questioned. I don't even remember a member of the legislature being in a situation like that.
One of the things that makes me angry is
one
in this case is he supposedly does these expenses February 1st. Okay, so that would have been on a campaign finance report because they're quarterly. Is that right?
Right, and the report for the whole year of 2025 is due like February 17th.
Right, but I'm saying like what he did unless I'm wrong with my timing on this, what he did on February 1st, they would have known ahead of time, right? They didn't just know about it a few days ago. Why was this not brought to people's attention ahead of time? And the question Braun should have to answer is, if Zay had voted the way you wanted an AES, would you have pointed out what appears to be very suspect activity, or are you just doing this because he didn't vote the way you wanted?
Well, I think it's a point that they, the governor's attorneys have placed, put it a spotlight on exactly what they want, and they're crafty legally. As for someone in charge looking at campaign finance reports and whatnot, that's a difficult task. And I, as a member of the nominating committee, I never went to a campaign finance report to see.
No, I'm just saying it's kind of convenient they found the stuff after the AES. Thing, right?
That's true. And bottom line though is they're very crafty in the governor's office. They're doing a good job of focusing on what they wanted to terminate them. That being Senator Zay.
Okay, let's move on to the other thing. Jim Merritt is our guest, by the way. The Senate.
Yes.
Everybody on the right is all elated about Garton being the new Senate boss. You and I have talked about this. Speeches mean nothing to me. Voting means something to me. His votes, very similar to Bray. Not quite identical, but very similar. And you don't elevate some guy to leadership without him being pretty simpatico with the leadership, right? You were in leadership for years.
Right. And do you know when Senator Long announced his retirement in the
2018, wasn't it?
Yes. In that session, we had time to look at who would be the pro tem, but we decided that we made that decision that he would serve out his term in 2018, but the job decision of Senator Bray being the next pro tem was made in the summer. So
did you want it?
At times, yeah, I wanted it. But I was up for re-election. My district was becoming more and more purple, and I was chairman of the Republican Party in Marion County. I had a lot of things going on, and so Senator Bray was a good pick. But they are following the model that we did. That we endorse Senator Bray, they endorse Chris Garton, and they answer the question about being as conservative as Rod or more conservative. If you look at all the scores of votes, the Senate is a very conservative body, and it used to be when you're up for re-election, Right to Life would look at you and to see what your voting record was. That I would put Rod's record up against Chris's any day, and so. The idea of having a smell test or some sort of idea of who is more conservative is difficult because Rod Bray is conservative himself.
Oh, get out of here.
Well, yes.
He voted for all that nonsense. All the property taxes, the utility bills. You can't say Bray's conservative.
Well, you look at, I think Chris Garton is conservative. You look, and he was on the finance committee when Senate Bill 1 came.
Taxes by $1 billion to fund the budget. That's not conservative.
Well, yeah, but they did have a balanced budget, and that is conservative.
They have a balanced budget.
They have to have a balanced budget.
You're giving these guys, come on, Merritt. You're giving these guys too much credit. I know they're your friends, but get out of here. Come on, they have to have a balanced budget. My point is,
but there's nobody in that caucus that is more conservative than Chris Garton.
They're all the same, is what you're saying.
Yes.
There's not this shining bit of difference between these people.
No.
So it would appear that people are going to be sorely disappointed, thinking that he's going to go in there and wave a wand to get rid of property taxes or whatever the thing is.
Yes, and the thing is also, though, you have to look at, there might be people around Chris Garton that are different than Rod Bray, and they may be more of the coming of more online, more active about the Republican Party, and as well as there might be some people that voted for redistricting that are coming to the fore that weren't in leadership before.
Yeah, but your buddy Cook.
Yeah.
Remember the conversation we had the first time? Because it's spelled, Eric Cook is his name.
Yes.
Koch. And I'm like, Jim, I'm not going to look like an idiot on the air. Is it Koch? Is it Coke? And Jim just very calmly looks at me and goes, it's Cook, Robert. And I was like, how the hell did you get Cook from that? I said, Jim, are you sure? He goes,
I do serve a purpose on this show sometimes.
It's like, Rob, I worked with the guy. I'm pretty sure what his name is.
Yeah. And he's going to be the appointee for Majority Leader.
Utility guy that started that big expose. He's totally in bed with the utilities, the gifts, the donations.
So if you're pro utility, you can't be conservative.
I'm saying if you're voting to screw the folks and you're giving everything away to the utility company, I'm just saying this idea that we're going to have, the utility bills are going to be in check and the property tax are going to be cut. I don't see that happening.
There will be a continuum of leadership in the Senate that you've seen in the past.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yep.
Because
and you're right.
I feel like we're at a point now, though, where there's so many people that want to be like the activists or whatever. They want to be seen on the social media. They want to get invited to events where they're just defending stuff that'll make them look good on social media. And the candidates are getting that way, too, where Garton posted that bizarre thing of him beating up Santa Claus and like, that makes you a cool guy now? When did that start?
We are going to have a lot of fun in the coming months, in the coming year, when, bless his heart, Representative Andrew Ireland, who I don't know, but I've met.
Wait, what do you mean? You don't know him, but you've met him? Oh, like the way like Gacy met Rosalind Carter. He met her, but he didn't know her.
Well, he's very fond of tweeting and Facebooking.
He's full of it.
Yeah, and what he says about what goes on in the Senate is going to be really interesting because he seems to be on online a lot.
Well, he's one of those guys that he voted for the budget to raise taxes by $1 billion. Then he goes out and rails against people raising taxes or the Democrats with their wheel tax in Merritt County. And I keep trying to say, why does anybody give this guy the time of day? Look at his voting record. Look at the voting record of the Republicans. Why would you give him a second? And yet there's people who love him.
Yeah, and we're giving him way too much airtime here.
Well, I'll point out all day a guy who voted to raise taxes by $1 billion. True. He's a fraud.
Yeah.
He's a phony.
Well, also is how will Jim Banks, who is very busy in Washington, how Senator Banks will feel about the leadership in the Senate when somebody said, and I didn't see this, but he was very uncomplimentary of Senator Bray.
Well, he funded all those, or that dark money group.
Yeah,
that was affiliated with him, funded all those candidates.
It'd be really interesting to see how Senator Banks, who actually was a state senator, how he will react to what is going on in the new Senate.
Banks,
Indiana Senate.
But I think Banks is an example, though, of a guy who has gotten swallowed up by the modern era of politics. I used to interview him all the way back to when I was a fill-in guy on IBC, when he was just, recently elected congressman. He was very conservative, but he seemed very genuine. He seemed very level-headed. He seemed very resolute. And it is like in the past 4 or 5 years, it's like a different human. Yeah. It's like, what is going on here?
Well, he has changed a lot. And he is constantly on Fox News. And he's also It was kind of interesting with all the floods in Carmel.
Is your home okay?
Yeah, but 5 communities have suffered so badly, and all the members of Congress all kind of tweeted or went online and said, "I just got off the phone with President Trump, and we're going to get the money that we need from federal to recover." And it was kind of interesting that they all were there, but and yet it's going to be really interesting to see how they all feel about the operation of the Senate without Bray as the leader.
Jim lives up on a big giant hill, fitting for the house that he lives in. Okay, before I let you go, the Spencer Deary stuff.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The law appears to be, we read the law, the statute on the air.
Were you all bored?
I can even make reading that entertaining, right? Maybe I'll just read the Gatsby.
In that voice you used to use on radio,
I'll use the Trump voice. Yes. The Trump tweet voice.
Mm-hmm.
The law appears very clear that a mistake by the government, when the intent to vote is known and who you intended to vote for is known, and there's no manipulation of the ballot, that a mistake by the government cannot void your right to vote.
I think that's absolutely correct. And I think any judge, any Supreme Court justice, and they're all have different minds about this. But
remember when you got me in with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court?
She hasn't talked to me since.
And the governor in the same day.
And the governor, he shut me down after that.
When they do the Netflix doc on Jim Merritt's life, that was the moment in 2017 that was the beginning of the end for you.
Shut down.
But you know these people. You know these Supreme Court justices.
Yeah. They will look at intent. They will look at the law, and those votes. Spencer Deary will be the next state senator. Will continue to be the state senator. He will win,
and
because of the intent of their vote.
Yeah, it's crystal clear. It's not like the ballot was manipulated. It's not like it was messed with. They know these people voted. I mean, I was blown away from the interview we did with Spencer, because all of these early votes are marked absentee. How many of them were actually in-person votes that just were marked absentee? Mm-hmm. My question to you is, now look, like I said, I'd trust the most recent 9 figures on American Greed on CNBC before Diego. I don't know this Mullen guy, but he's some Republican power player, right? He's connected to Banks and Rokita. Mm-hmm. He's a lawyer. Mm-hmm. How could he have missed this? I mean, he's on the recount commission. He was the deciding vote with Diego to throw these ballots out. We're reading the law, and it appears crystal clear. How could it? Do you know this guy?
Oh, yeah. Paul's a longtime friend of mine, and I don't know how he missed it. I don't know how that body actually wanted to talk to voters about their intent,
because he voted to do that.
Yeah, I've not spoken to Paul about this, but I do know what I know, and I will express my opinion that it's intent of the law, and as well as it would be incredibly anti-constitutional for somebody to go in and interview a voter on why or how they voted.
Deary's camp made a huge deal out of Mullen's relationship with Banks, because the Banks affiliated group put huge money into helping Copenhagen, and then Banks and Mullen are at this Broad Ripple event, yucking it up together, and they said, "Look, this guy was not fair." Like, do they have a case for that?
I think the Deary people really made a mistake, and that was misspent legal funds. They're trying to soil the well in that regard. I think that you go straight to court and say, "This is the intent of the voter. These people wanted to vote for Spencer Deary, and they did vote for us. It was a mistake by the government. Case over."
But you think Deary's going to win?
Yes. I do.
I hope so, not because I like Deary or am against Copenhagen, although she will not tell people why she left Rokita's office, and that says a lot about her. But
well, I want Deary to win because I think he's the best candidate, but also because he won.
Well, I think you got to count those votes.
Yes.
I think if you start saying the government error can void your vote, then you open yourself up to nefarious actors.
Well, yeah. How many in the future? If I'm on the ballot, do I trust that the government wants me to win or lose?
I mean, I don't think anybody thinks anything nefarious happened here, but it could in the future.
Of course.
If you rule that the clerk's not doing the job right.
Yeah. It's really our democratic way is really awful, soiled.
This Secretary of State's race is boring as hell, Jim Merritt. And I thought it was going to be something else.
Yeah.
Like, you got Biden there with all the money. You got the controversy with Diego. You got this England guy who gets in there. You got Ballard in the race. These people are so boring. What is going on here?
I don't know. They're going to have some. We had Bo By on Merritt in the Morning today.
When and where will people be able to find them?
We will have all 4 candidates and their interviews on as soon as we finish Max Engling.
You're doing them all at the same time. You're rolling them all out at once?
We're going to roll them all out at once so people can compare. And these are good interviews. These are personal interviews. And I've met Max Engling at an event, but I wanted to get to know him. We got to know Lori Schillings. We now know Bo By, and then we'll release them, and so everybody can compare.
Merritt in the Morning on Facebook,
yes.
Twitter, or not, I'm sorry, YouTube.
Yes.
And, okay, good. That'll be show content for me. I can just clip those interviews. And, thank you, Jim, for your contribution.
Well, and just to give you a little kind of vision into what we asked Bo today was, you seem to be campaigning against Diego Morales.
Oh, yeah, he is.
And Diego is not on the ballot. And so what do you think about your opponents? Now, if you just want to go what you think, fine. And he resorted to the fact that Max was interviewed and asked if he would vote for Diego if he won the nomination, and he said yes. Well, we will, and next week we will ask Max Engling about the Diego Morales time in the Secretary of State's office and what he would do different.
Yeah, this is a huge disappointment to me.
Well, we're going to try to spice it up a little bit.
I may not vote for any of these people now unless somebody gets a pulse in here and starts throwing some haymakers at somebody, because this was supposed to be my summer of entertainment, and we're almost to September.
And you're bored.
And nobody's run any negative ads. Where in the world can people find you, Jim Merritt?
What with Merritt in the Morning, Jim Merritt's Indiana, with you on Statehouse Happenings, and in a variety of different places. Lessons Learned is my book, Amazon.com. We're building the Merritt Foundation. We're going to support different causes we feel strong about.
So excited for the foundation.
Well, at some point, we're going to have to talk about prostate cancer. September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. I'm going to interview my surgeon, among many other public people who went through the same surgery.
We'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Merritt, you are a national treasure. Jim _Merritt on Twitter. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. Be back. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
If authentic wood-smoked barbecue is your thing, Double D's Barbecue in Clayton is the place for you. Owners Dennis and Tina Duncan, along with their son Garrett, are from Memphis. So when it comes to barbecue, they're not screwing around. No pellet smokers, no roasters, just authentic wood-smoked Memphis-style barbecue. All of Double D's food is cooked fresh daily, and it's all made from scratch. Double D's Barbecue, located at 40 and 39 in Clayton, is open all day, Wednesday through Saturday, but get there early because once they're sold out, they're done. Check out the full menu, ribs, brisket, and more at ddbbq317.com.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Is the inside of your house a total mess, like a complete dumpster fire? Call AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning. When you walk into your house after using AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning, you will see and smell the difference. They take great pride in their workers and treat your home like their own. All cleaners pass through a background check and drug screening. Call today and mention you heard about AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning on the Rob Kendall Show, and you will get an incredible $50 off your first clean. AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning serves all of Central Indiana. Book your appointment today by calling 317-530-8148. 317-530-8148. Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks so much for being with us. If you haven't done so yet, help us out. I know we ask a lot, but to hit that little thumbs up button, liking the YouTube show, the YouTube feed, that's a great way to help us grow the Rob Kendall Show, whether you're watching us live or on demand. Also, if you're on like Apple, you can leave us a 5-star review. That really helps grow the program as well. Look, the Republicans are either in complete denial or they're absolutely habitual liars about the national debt. And this news story with a quote from the vice president is unbelievable. We'll get to that in a second. It is Friday. That means dinner is available tonight at the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro on the water out there in beautiful Brazil. Listen to the special menu items this week. Everything's fabulous at the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro. But special items this week: Korean beef, 8-ounce grilled salmon with honeysuckle sriracha glaze, peanut butter chocolate cake, and vanilla creme brulee. Just some of the fine dining options available this week at the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro on the water in beautiful Brazil. By the way, they got a YouTube channel, and it's great, guys. Jody, Andy's wife, who owns the restaurant with Andy, she does a regular cooking show with dignitaries, candidates, media people. I've been on there before. They got a YouTube channel. If you just put Honeysuckle Hill Bistro in your YouTube channel, they've interviewed all of the 3 candidates, Ballard, Bai, and Engling, running for Secretary of State. Fascinating while they're making food. They should only be a TV show in the Wabash Valley. It's a fun watch. When you get done with the Rob Kendall Show, if you're looking for something else, just Google Honeysuckle Hill Bistro. Jody has that cool show that she does. It's pretty much a weekly thing. But if you want to reserve, make your reservations, Honeysuckle Hill Bistro. They're open Friday for dinner, Saturday for dinner, Sunday for brunch buffet. Here's how you do it. You call 812-443-3003, 812-443-3003. Get the full menu online, Honeysuckle Hill Bistro. Okay. We've moved so far beyond crisis point with the national debt. And you guys know, you think about this. 10 years ago, when you guys many of you first started listening to me, I was telling you guys about what a big deal the national debt was. And we are almost $22 trillion ahead of where we were then. We're at $40 trillion on our nation's debt, and nobody has a plan to do anything about it. Nobody has a plan to do anything about it. And he said the annual interest on our debt is $1.2 trillion. The annual interest on our debt alone is $1.2 trillion. Think about all the good $1.2 trillion could do every year, and it's just wasted. It's just thrown away. And there is great instability in the economy right now. The bond markets, the yields, they're all over the place. And now the Treasury's getting involved, and they're trying to manipulate the bond market. And it's potentially really dangerous stuff because it's getting so out of control. And J.D. Vance and the Republicans are full of crap. They have no plan to reduce the national debt or even the deficit. We're running $2 trillion annual deficits, guys. And now they're insulting all of our intelligence, and they're out there, they're just spouting nonsense that they're trying to claim you can grow your way out of this insanity. I read this article from The Hill this morning, and I was enraged. I was outraged about what I'm about to tell you. So the article comes to us from The Hill. Vice President J.D. Vance said Thursday night Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has, quote, a very discreet plan to shrink the nation's debt. He, meaning Bessent, has had a very discreet plan, of course, supported by the President of the United States to get the United States to a point where our economy is growing faster than our debt, Vance said on Newsmax's Carl Higbee Frontline. And if you look, we're on track. So even though the debt is too high, even though we inherited this debt bomb from the Biden administration, we actually do have a plan to get the economy growing faster than the debt, and that's the most important thing. Outrageous. I don't care what party you are, you should be outraged that he said this out loud. Let's walk through the actual data on the debt. First of all, let's talk about how insulting it is when they talk about the Biden debt time bomb or whatever he said. The Biden debt bomb. Yeah, did Biden add a lot to the debt? Of course he did. He's a Democrat. That's what Democrats do. However, as we said, there has been over $21 trillion added to the national debt since 2016. Most of it has come from Republicans. We laid out the other day, since 2016, the Republicans have had full control of the government for 4 of those years. They've had the majority of the government for 2 more. So 6 of the 10, the Republicans have had the majority or all of the government. And 2 of those years, they had control over the purse because they had the House of Representatives. So 8 of the 10 years, Republicans have had say over our national spending or control over our national spending. So you don't get to say that it's Biden's fault. We all know what Biden and the Democrats are. This is on you guys. To try to pass the buck onto Joe Biden is a complete abdication of responsibility. That's the first part. The biggest part of the national debt grew in 2020 when Republicans had the presidency and the Senate. The magical money printing factory of 2020, Joe Biden had nothing to do with it. Quote, "There's nothing magic about the $40 trillion number, and we can grow our way out of that," Bessent told Squawk on the Street. There's no way, guys. There is no way at a $2 trillion annual deficit you're going to grow your way out of it. They are complete liars. And why aren't they talking about reducing the spending? Why is everything about growth? Why is none of this about making the government better? Making the government smaller? Making the government more accountable? Let's just pretend you could grow yourself out of $2 trillion, and we're going to blow that out of the water here in just a second. Let's just pretend you could grow yourself out of $2 trillion. Why is the first conversation, though, not about making the government better or more efficient? The Republicans have no interest, and they've at least given up the facade that they do now of making the government better or more efficient. They've given it up. They're done with it. We're done. At least future elections now we can stop being lied to by the Republicans that they give a damn. They've given it up. Their whole plan now is unobtainable growth. All right, so let's talk about the actual numbers behind this. The national gross domestic product, the GDP, you probably heard the phrase GDP before, is the total market value of all final goods and services produced within a country during a specific time period. So all the stuff that we make and all the stuff that we provide, that is the GDP. In the United States, the real GDP last year was approximately $24.3 trillion. So all the products of the United States, all the goods, all the services, everything was about $24.3 trillion. At that rate of a $24.3 trillion GDP with a $2 trillion annual deficit, you'd have to grow your economy by 8% just to break even. 8% just to break even. Screw paying down the debt. You'd have to grow your economy by 8% every year just to break even. Guys, the GDP last year, want to take a guess? We'll play Price is Right rules. Play amongst yourselves here. What do you think the GDP grew last year? Price is Right rules, you go over, you lose. Give everybody a moment here to get your guesses in the YouTube chat. No looking. Yeah, what percentage do you think the GDP? I know the answer. I'm about to give the answer. No cheating, though. Put it up in the YouTube chat. Whatever you think the GDP. Remember, we've done the math here. To get to $2 trillion, if your GDP was $24.3 trillion, you got to grow the economy 8%. To get out, that's just to get even, not paying down a penny on $40 trillion. What do you think? Get your answers in. About 10 seconds here, I'm going to give you the answer. Jason's in at 5%. The GDP, 2.1%. If he didn't look that up, that's good on him. I'd like to think we're honest enough not to cheat on this show. 2.1%. Yeah, MLM Warriors. It's at 2.1%. If you cheated, shame on you. We're on the honor system here. It's like on a golf course. And that is what Trump telling us, as he regularly does, how amazing the economy is. It's the best. It's so great. Sure, you're paying a little more for your energy. Just a little. But it's great. It's the greatest economy ever. So we're told how great the economy is. It grew at 2.1%. You'd have to multiply that by 4. Does any person think in the life you're living and what you're seeing in front of you that the economy is going to grow 4 times the rate it did last year? The answer is hell no. This is insulting beyond words. I don't care what party you are. I don't care what your political beliefs are. I don't care who you voted for. You're being gaslit by these people. You're being absolutely gaslit. There is no way you are growing the economy at a rate of 8%. And the Republicans have given it up. We are on the verge of some potentially very scary stuff in this economy. Consult your trained professional. But when your 3 biggest expenses in the government are your debt, Medicare, and Social Security, they don't produce anything. Now, that's not an indictment or because people, well, you use the term entitlement like it's a bad thing. No, people are entitled to it. That's the rules. It doesn't produce anything, though. You're giving it to someone. It's not making anything new. It's not growing the economy. It's money that's already been allocated. It's not being invested in a new plant or a new industry. Medicare and Social Security are keeping people alive. The interest on our debt, it's like your house. There's a good chance on your home, your biggest expense is your interest. It's money you're just lighting up in flames. You get nothing for it. I mean, you think about if you bought a house 4 or 5 years ago and you got interest rates at 3.5%, even 4%. You compare that to people who are buying the same house today at 6.5%. They're sometimes paying $500-$600 more a month for the same house. You're not getting anything better. So the house didn't get any better. You're just lighting that up in flames and giving it to the bank. That's the majority of our government. It's to 3 things that are producing nothing for the U.S. economy of substance. 2 entitlements and our interest. There's no way. There's no way you can ever make that work. And the fact that they are so dishonest and deceitful, and they're gaslighting the American public to make you believe that you somehow can make that work, shame on every single one of those people. Guys, it is Friday, and that means Double D's Barbecue in Clayton, open for lunch, open for dinner. Same thing on Saturday. They're not open on Sunday, but Friday and Saturday, Double D's Barbecue on 40 right there in Clayton. Winners of best ribs, best sauce at Rib Fest in Hendricks County. They are, they're from Memphis. Tina, Dennis, their son Garrett, who run the joint. They're from Memphis. They take their barbecue very seriously. And the special tonight and tomorrow, very popular, Mississippi farm-raised catfish. How about that, Memphis, for you? How about that? Memphis, through and through, Mississippi farm-raised catfish, that's the special. Ribs, brisket, and more. It's all amazing. And when you're there, make sure you ask, get the Sharpie, sign the wall, just like they do at Graceland. Great atmosphere, great service, great food. Double D's Barbecue on 40, right near 40 and 39, where they come together in Clayton. See the full menu, ribs, brisket, and more. DDBBQ317.com, DDBBQ317.com. All right, we're going to go ahead and take another quick break. We got a lot more to get to, including people are drinking less than perhaps ever before. Oh, And the government's kind of admitted the whole environmental thing, that's just a big scam. We'll tell you about that and a whole bunch more when we come back. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Rob Kendall Show. Do you have a dog but don't have a fenced-in yard? Your HOA won't allow a fence? Worried about having to watch your furry friend anytime you go outside? Avoid the blazing hot summers and freezing cold winters with All-American Dog Fence. All-American Dog Fence is the cost-effective, easy-to-use, in-ground fence system to keep your dog secure and give you peace of mind anytime they're outside. All-American Dog Fence backs their Pet Stop products with a lifetime warranty. Call or text All-American Dog Fence at 317-862-6606 or visit their website at allamericandogfence.com. Mention the Rob Kendall Show and get $200 off a new installation.
In Congress, I get all sorts of insider stock tips. Sure, I cashed in. It's my Beltway bonus. But now here comes Senator Todd Young with his total ban on congressional stock trades.
Freaking Mr. Clean Marine. Todd Young's got real guts taking us on. Young's gonna cost me millions.
Had enough of this? Contact Senator Todd Young to say thanks and let him know that you stand with his plan to ban stock trading for all members of Congress.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Our government has essentially admitted the whole environmental thing is a big, giant scam. We'll tell you about that in just a moment. Before we do, though, if you guys have a dog, but you don't have a fenced-in yard, maybe your HOA not allowing a fence, worried about having to watch your furry friend anytime you go outside, avoid the blazing hot summers and freezing cold winters with All-American Dog Fence. It's the easy-to-use, in-ground fence system designed to keep your dog secure and give you peace of mind anytime they're outside. The All-American Dog Fence products, they're Pet Stop. They're designed and manufactured right here in the United States with a lifetime warranty. You can call or text All-American Dog Fence. They pride themselves on better price than the big guys and better customer service than the big guys. 317-862-6606. 317-862-6606. Visit their website at allamericandogfence.com. Allamericandogfence.com is the website. And mention the Rob Kendall Show. You're going to get an incredible $200 off. Just mention Rob Kendall Show, 317-862-6606. Get an incredible $200 off. Okay. The EPA did something, and there's the thing, and then there's the thing that nobody's saying, and that's what we're interested in. It's never the stuff that's actually being done, like in front of the camera. It's what's either being admitted or acknowledged or whatever behind the scenes. And it comes to us from WRTV6 with the article. The Environmental Protection Agency announced Thursday that it will change its rules around the sale of E10 blend fuel in a bid to increase the U.S. fuel supply. So a reminder, E10 is gasoline, which is blended with up to 10% of ethanol. It is, during summer months, sold in a blend that is designed to minimize the smog in the ozone. Because we're told the ozone is deteriorating, that the sun is creeping through, that we're all going to burn up. Of course, remember the original Earth Day was about global cooling. Now it's all global warming. And we're told we have to have this more expensive, harder to produce gasoline, which raises everybody's prices, to save the ozone. Unless, of course, gas gets really expensive. Then they're like, just kidding. We're going to suspend that. You guys don't have to do that anymore. But I thought it was vital to the ozone. And I thought we were all going to burn up if we didn't do this. And what's the point of having cheap gas if we're all burned up and we can't buy gas? No, it'll be fine. No. Anytime government suspends a rule, they are admitting to you the rule didn't need to exist or the tax didn't need to exist. Same thing we're seeing right now with the tax on gas. What's happening? All the road projects are continuing. Everything's getting done. Even the local governments. They just announced the $130 million payout again to the local governments. Everybody's getting made whole. Nobody's suffering while the gas tax has been suspended. Why? Because as some of us said, damn, I should run for office. $10 million. $10 million is preventing you people from me making all of your lives better every single day. That's it. $10 million to save 7 million people. I mean, it's $1 a piece. But they're admitting what we've said for years. The gas tax is unnecessary. Our government taxes the economy, regardless of who's in power, is so strong that the government regularly collects a lot more than it needs. And government just finds ways to spend it. And my argument has always been $1.42 a person. That's the number. If we got 7 million people to put $1.42 a person, you with kids, you'd have to make it, $2.80, $2.84 or whatever in their behalf. But you get the idea, right? Think about how easy, when you actually simplify that, how easy that is. $1.42 a person for me to become governor and help every single one of you people. That's amazing. I can't believe it was actually that simple. I should have thought it through like that years ago. Those referendums for the school people, they're always like, it's a plate of nachos a day. It's one trip to Starbucks a week. That's what they're always like. That's what they're always saying. Yeah. For $1.04, and we're not talking a week or a month. We're saying one time. If 7 million people contribute $1.42, I become governor. Well, who knows? Anyway, the point is, and then, great point Jason made. If it's fully funded by the people, there's no special interest. And look, if somebody gave me the $10 million, I'm wearing their logo everywhere. This campaign brought to you by... I don't even know who runs Walmart now, but if the guy who runs Walmart is like, that would be fun. $10 million is nothing to me. I think the Walton family is technically still involved or heirs. So the guy that owns the Broncos is the Walmart guy. I don't think the Colts are going to be giving me, I don't think the Ursays are going to be giving me any money. We've said some things. But I got no beef with the Walton heirs. So let's just say the guy who owned Walmart was like, I would get $10 million worth of fun out of this. Here's $10 million. I would wear Walmart. I would say this campaign brought to you by Walmart. You do billboards and radio, the billboard average, so-and-so presents the Rob Kendall Show. Walmart presents the Rob Kendall campaign. Oh, I'd be all on it. But you're not getting that from the other politicians. They're bought and sold by these people. Jesse Ventura said that years ago, that the politicians should have to wear the NASCAR suits everywhere they go with the biggest donors on them. Anyway, the gas tax is proving this. It's suspended and nothing's changing. It's suspended and no road projects are not being done. Everything's going on as scheduled. So when the government stops doing something, the government is admitting to you the thing never needed to be done to begin with. And they're admitting this right here with this gas. They know people are pissed. They know people are upset. They know the Trump administration knows the people are blaming Trump. We're going to have some new poll numbers on Trump here in just a moment. So what are they doing? They're like, well, just suspend that rule. But I thought the ozone was going to rip apart. Nah, that'll be fine. Yeah, but I thought we were all going to burn up. Well, it's a risk you take for cheaper gas. Get the hell out of here. It's government bureaucracy. It's needless government bureaucracy, and they're admitting it by suspending the rule. This is expected, according to the report, to increase the total amount of available gasoline in the U.S. and help lower the cost of gas. But it may also increase smog emissions. Well, apparently, it ain't that big a deal. The EPA, when pressed, said the administration has decided the change is, quote, in the public interest. That's the direct quote. Why did you guys do this? Well, it's in the public interest. You mean we're full of it? We're a big scam. We're conning people. We're doing this to help select industries. And now that everybody's really pissed about gas, well, we're going to acknowledge we don't really need to do this. So screw those people that'll be upset. There's a lot more people that are mad about the price of gas. Quote, President Trump has prioritized ensuring American families have affordable gasoline and energy. When did this start? It sure hasn't been the last 6 months. Throughout this administration, EPA has taken decisive action, issuing RVP waivers to provide relief at the pump and fortify our gasoline supply chain. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin said in a statement, today we continue to work with our federal partners to increase supply and lower gas prices for all Americans. When does the gas start getting lower in price? I always hear about we're doing this thing and we're doing that thing, the reserves and this. And none of it seems to actually be lowering the price of gas. None of it actually seems to be making anything any more affordable. These people are all full of crap. Every single one of them. They don't give a damn about us. They're just doing whatever they want to do to make you not realize how they've screwed everything up. Interesting poll out about running for president on the Republican side. And you and the audience and myself and Jason and I have had this conversation. If you were to say right now who's the guy that I think could actually win a presidential election on the Republican side, I think it's Marco Rubio. I think Vance comes off as too arrogant. I think he's too, Jason used the term inexperienced. I think that's fair. I think he's too attached to Trump. Look, I think depending on the midterms, if everything goes south in the midterms, you're going to see people run from Trump because the gig is up, right? He will be a lame duck president. He will be working with at least a Congress, House of Representatives that is Democrat. He's probably going to get impeached again. I think you're going to start to see the end of the ring finger kissing absolutism. Now, there'll still be some people that do it, but I think you're going to see a branch off of this. And I think Vance as vice president is too tied into Trump. Rubio was a senator. Had Trump not run, I think Rubio would have been the guy in 2016. He looks the part. He's not controversial. He's very articulate. He's not going to make stupid mistakes. And so everybody's Vance. And even Rubio said last year, if you guys remember, that he would, I think he said, defer to Vance if he sought the presidency. There is no way that if Rubio wants to be president, he's not going to run if Vance runs. So there's some new polling out from Emerson College, that's a big-time polling firm, on how people would feel if Rubio ran versus if Vance ran. Not how they're polling head-to-head, but how they stack up against Democrat competition. And what's interesting is in almost every single case against the tippy-top or people that are perceived to be the tippy-top Democrat people right now, Rubio does better. The Emerson College and Hill survey found that 5 matchups against Democrats, Rubio outperformed Vance in all but one. That's with Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, and they're tied in that one. What's interesting is every Democrat, it's Ossoff, it's Buttigieg, it's Newsom, it's Kamala, it's AOC. Every Democrat, according to this Emerson poll, had a lead over the Republicans, Rubio and Vance. Now, of course, it's 2 years out, and it's way too early, right? 2.5 years out. But in every one of those polls, Rubio matched up better than Vance, which is an early inclination that the public at large is not as put off by Rubio as they are by Vance. I thought that was interesting that this is sort of the first poll that has asked this question that we have pondered on this program. And it does seem, at least right now, and again, it's a world away, right? It may not be Rubio or Vance. If Trump goes down and the economy doesn't improve and he gets smoked in the midterms, you're going to probably see a total outsider that's going to rise up. Hell, Ron DeSantis might get another shot. Who knows? But I did think that was interesting that we've been saying this on this program for 6 months, and the first sort of polling on this bears out, and it does show Rubio appears to be more liked than Vance. Interesting stuff. Hey, Anthony Gary, he owns Indy Dwell Real Estate, and he doesn't just show houses. He finds you homes with everything you're looking for, explains your options, and gets your offer accepted without you losing sleep or sanity. Anthony's an expert negotiator, and his goal is to help you meet your real estate goals. Call or text Anthony Gary, Indy Dwell Real Estate, 317-756-1159, 317-756-1159. Guys, I look at my clock, and I see we made it to 11 o'clock, which means it's hour 3, brought to you by the great John Rust. Of course, John Rust, we couldn't do hour 3 without him. He's been a huge supporter of our show from the beginning. Never wants anything, just like I love your show. I'd love to have you do another hour. Here's some money for you. I wish it was all that easy. John Rust is awesome. He's been a huge supporter of ours. Thank you, John Rust, for sponsoring Hour 3. And speaking of John Rust, don't forget, if you haven't done so yet, RSVP to the big event, Saturday, October the 3rd, at the Palatial Rust Estate in the greater Seymour area. We got all sorts of stuff planned. We've got patriotic music. We've got an antique car show. We've got lunch catered for you by Double D's. We got birthday cake for both Jason and Tina, the owner of Double D's. It's their birthday. We've got me giving a speech about how great the country is. And it's just a chance for you, the fabulous Rob Kendall Show listeners and viewers, to come together, hang out, and have a great time. It's all you got to do, because John needs to know how much food to order. It's totally free to attend. RSVP. Send your email. Come hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. rustforamerica@gmail.com. rustforamerica@gmail.com. Just tell John, here's my name. Here's how many people I'm bringing with me. And then John's going to reply to you, and bam, you're in. It's going to be a great time. Saturday, October the 3rd, rustforamerica@gmail.com. All right, we'll take our final break. We got a lot more to get to. New polling on Trump. We got people drinking less than ever before. And the best YouTube comments of the day, brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing. Don't go anywhere. Hour 3's next. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
I'm Anthony Gary. I started Indy Dwell Real Estate because too many friends, family members, and neighbors had real estate experiences that lacked compassion, explanation, and expertise. You deserve someone in your corner with the heart of a teacher, simplifying every step of the buying or selling process. When you hire me, you get me. Start to finish, you'll never be handed off. No stress, no surprises, just the expert guidance and results you deserve. Anthony Gary, Indy Dwell Real Estate. Call or text 317-756-1159. 317-756-1159.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Buying a home or thinking about refinancing? Work with someone local who understands the central Indiana market. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps homebuyers and homeowners explore options for purchasing, refinancing, or even consolidating higher interest debt through their mortgage. Gary's approach is simple, clear advice, and personalized guidance, so you can make confident decisions. Visit loansbygary.homes to learn more or get started today. You've got nothing to lose but dollars on your mortgage payment. So call for a free, no-obligation quote, 317-695-5179. Gary Tedrow, NMLS number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender.
With a lakefront view in beautiful Brazil, the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and Cottage is a little out of the way, but totally worth the trip. Down home, made from scratch food, just like the good old days at Grandma's. When you visit the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and Cottage, you'll leave more at peace than when you came in. Open 5 to 8 for dinner on Friday and Saturday, and Sundays 11 to 1:30 for the buffet. You must experience the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and Cottage. Call 812-443-3003. 812-443-3003. Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Hour 3 is upon us. Indiana news, politics, and government. You're not going to get anywhere else. A couple of interesting stories, and then Jason will join us for the best YouTube comments of the day, brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing. But first, masonry color mismatch, previous repair catching your eye, not happy with the brick color on your home and ready for a total makeover. Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants offer specialized masonry staining and recoloring. Whether you want to seamlessly blend repairs or completely transform your home's exterior, you want to build something new, Bramwell Mackay's 40-year master masons design and construct custom patios, sidewalks, outdoor summer kitchens, archways, entryways, and more. Bramwell Mackay, beauty built to endure. So there's some new polling out on Trump and the economy. And again, if you're a Republican, a diehard Republican or a diehard Trump supporter, it's not good. And one of the things that's fascinating is in any business, when you get numbers that aren't great, sales, information on a product, in our business, listenership, viewership, whatever it is, you look at data, and when the data's not great, you start saying to yourself, why is that? And you adjust the product accordingly. It's true in businesses all across this country. It's, like I said, true in our industry. I think I've told you guys before the assassination attempt on Trump and that debate with Biden, there was a real concern in the media industry that there was no bounce being seen from Biden and Trump in a presidential year. You looked at ratings on cable television, talk radio, wherever. You weren't seeing the normal bounce you see in a presidential year. And what we kind of figured out was, or the industry kind of figured out, is these guys are boring. Biden doesn't know his name, and people have seen the Trump show. And so the industry was really, especially the cable news and talk radio, podcasting, really having to find new ways to come up with stuff to talk about that was interesting because you weren't getting the usual drive of an election year, the usual bounce you normally would, because Trump was and Biden wasn't that interesting. Then the debate, Biden melts down. Shortly after that, there's an assassination attempt on Trump, and then people get engaged. And you saw, really probably a solid year of interest back in the political realm, the political media realm. Now, and some people are finding this out, when Trump isn't there to lift, people don't engage unless you got really compelling programming. So the point is you have to adjust. The media industry had to adjust. Okay, before, or was on the verge of having to adjust. Okay, these guys aren't that interesting anymore. What do we talk about? What do we talk about so that people want to engage? And again, it was true all across television and cable news and podcasting and everywhere. And it's the same thing with the commercial product. Hey, people aren't buying our hamburgers like they used to, or sodas, or you see constantly things get upgraded, they get reinvented, they get changed, they get mixed up to try to give yourself a jolt, to try to get people back interested in your product or having a positive opinion of your product. The polling keeps telling the Trump administration the same thing, and they keep doing the same thing. There's no pivot. Like in 1994, Bill Clinton ran as a moderate. He governed as a liberal the first couple of years. And there were scandals in the government, but really it was people were dissatisfied with the progress of the Clinton administration. and the Republicans had the contract with America, and they smoked the Democrats in the midterms in 1994. What did Clinton do? He said, okay, my customers, the American people, have spoken, and he immediately pivoted towards what the public said they wanted. Primarily, it culminated with the Balanced Budget Amendment in 1996. Clinton goes on to breeze to re-election. Now, after that was a little rough because of his personal misdeeds. But he listened to the consumer base and he changed the product. Trump and the Trump administration, there appears to be no changing of the product. They keep doing the same stuff. And this latest poll from the American Research Group, which polls monthly on Trump, 30% of Americans say they approve of the way Trump is handling his job as president, to 66% who say they disapprove. That's more than 2 to 1. That's almost identical to what July was, where it was 30 approve and 67% disapprove. It's a statistical rounding error, the difference. You're seeing the same things repeatedly. If you were in business and, 66% of people had a negative opinion of your product, you'd be like, why is this? What do we do with this information? How do we fix it? And what changes do we need to make? In August of 2018, for a comparison, so the 2nd August of his first term, 36% approved of the way Trump was handling his job as president, 59% disapproved. So it wasn't great then either, but it wasn't as nearly as bad as it is now. This is one of the things that I've talked about with Trump, that he either doesn't recognize or doesn't care. Both times Trump was elected president, he was elected in large part because of the unlikability of the people he was running against. Lady Luck has been a huge part of Trump's life, and it was riding on his side both times he was elected president because he got the two most unlikable major party candidates in American history, Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. Trump won the presidency. He did not, however, have a large portion of people who voted for him. The deciders who voted for him was not about him. He always started relative to newly elected presidents with very low approval ratings. They went down from there. That's because you had a lot of people who begrudgingly voted for him. In the end, it doesn't matter. He won the presidency twice. It doesn't matter. He was the winner. But you have to coalition build as president of the United States. You have to understand where the people are, and where the people are is where the Congress is going to be. And Trump entered with very little mandate both times. Both times. And I don't think he's ever either acknowledged it, recognized it, whatever. You have to govern based on the strength that you actually have. And part of that had to be a lot of people don't like Trump because of his personality, his social media behavior, the way he engages with other leaders, both in this country and around the world. And you've got to be cognizant of that. You've got to be cognizant of who you're working with. I was having this conversation with an elected official last night who, I don't want to name the person, so I won't give the exact details of what they were dealing with, but they got defeated on an issue that they were very passionate about. And they called me and they were asking some questions about stuff. And I said, look, I am amazed. When I was an elected official, I always knew way ahead of time, before any issues voted on, where my co-workers, for lack of a better term, or elected officials were at. And then who do you have to sway? And what do they need to hear? You remember the movie Tommy Boy where they're talking about Brian Dennehy as a sales guy and what a great sales guy he was? He wasn't just good at telling people what they wanted to hear. He was good at telling people what they needed to hear. And that's a big part of getting people to your side in elected office. Especially if you don't start with the votes guaranteed or people who are ideologically aligned with you. You've got to be able to coalition build and sway people and bring people together. And you cannot do that with an abrasive personality. You can't do it. You can do that with an abrasive personality if you've got a huge portion of the public on your side. If you got a 60, 65% approval rating, he don't got that and he's never had that. It's one of the reasons I got out of politics and government. I did not want to have to be nice to people anymore that I didn't like. I hated having to do that. I hated having to suck up to or play nice with or coddle people who I couldn't stand. But that's the game. That's what you got to do to get people to your side. When it comes to Trump's handling of the economy, 28% of Americans approve, 69% disapprove. We've talked about this, guys. The economy is almost always the major driver of how elections go. And I know that it's sort of an unprecedented time because the Democrats are so bad. But when you're 41 points underwater on the issue that normally decides elections, I don't know how you win. I don't know how when when you're the party in power, you need the president to be a closer. You need to be the president to be the guy that can lift your candidates up across the finish line in tight races. Hey, the polling's within a point or two. We need the president to come because he gets the bully pulpit and he can drive the message home and dominate the media cycle for a day. We need him to come to our city or our state. I don't think Trump can do that. It's essentially identical to where Trump was in July on the economy. 28% approved, 70% disapproved. In August 8 of 2018, 40% approved of the way Trump was handling the economy compared to 55% disapprove. Again, not good then either. Not this. Here's the number that's always fascinating to me. What sort of optimism do people have? A huge part of life is optimism. It's I get up every day and I got something to fight for. Sometimes it's your kids. I mean, you're always fighting for your kids, or you should be. But I'm saying, sometimes it's stuff for them, better life for them. Sometimes it's your career. Sometimes it's your spouse. You're optimistic. When you go to work every day, you need to be pushed to perform. Every person does. You need to be pushed to perform. I got down a rabbit hole of YouTube last night. And I found an old interview with Bob Seger with Bob Costas from like 1991. And Bob Costas used to have a nightly television show. I think it was on HBO. And Bob Seger was the guest. And, Bob Costas on this TV show did a lot more than just sports. And Seger's in his mid-40s at this point. And he was talking with Bob Seger about the early days. In the early days of Bob Seger in the late 60s, early 70s, before he hit it big. Night Moves was like 74 or 5, I think. And then obviously Live Bullet, and then Against the Wind, and then, from there it was easy goings, right? But he was talking about the different tours he had to do to get noticed, and all the very famous bands that he was the opening act for. They were the headliner, including bands that he didn't necessarily line up with, but he got getting in front of the people because, you parse through this, it gives you a sense of optimism. Seger opened for Kiss for like 70 shows when Kiss first became a thing. And he's like, it's like the audience didn't exactly line up. Bob Seger music, Kiss fans. But hey, I'm in front of all these people, right? And he said the Kiss guys were great. Point is, like, you get optimism. I'm growing. I'm growing in the audience that I'm being in front of in the case of Bob Seger. I'm getting in bigger venues. I'm getting the opening act for bigger bands. And then eventually I become the guy. Plot along, you plot along, you plot along. Even if there's not actual forward movement, in your mind there is. In your mind, you see the benefit. It gives you optimism to get back in the studio, to record, to write, to tour. The same thing is true in every facet of life. Optimism, or something to be motivated by, is the driver. When you don't have that, you have a pretty crummy existence. And so the number one thing I look at when I look at how a politician's doing or how I project an election's going to go is what optimism exists for the people. 14% say they expect the national economy will be better a year from now And 24% say the national economy will be the same. So only 38% of the people, well below a majority, think the economy is going to be better or the same. 52% say the national economy will be worse a year from now. I struggle to see, out of anything other than just intense fear of the other side, which the Democrats are giving people plenty of reason to have intense fear of the other side, why people would vote for somebody who they have no optimism is going to make their life better. It is an unbelievable number. It's very low. And the fact that there is no pivot. Trump is making the same mistake Biden made. Now, Biden didn't, again, know his name or what day it was, but the Biden people made. Remember, they kept telling you, hey, the stock market's awesome. Hey, the economy's great. Hey, we got inflation under control. And people are like, wages aren't keeping up with prices. It's getting harder and harder for me to get promoted at work. I don't see opportunities on the horizon that have me excited. I don't really care what Wall Street's doing until the day I go to cash out my 401k. So you can say, oh, well, the Wall Street's doing, but it's at the expense of me. And they kept saying, instead of pivoting, going, hey, people are not feeling this, right? We can say it, but they're, it's like marketing campaigns. You can tell people to go do something. That doesn't mean they're going to go do it. And instead of pivoting and going like Clinton did after 94 and going, okay, people have spoken. I got a re-election to worry about here. What do you guys want? And people wanted the government under control, and he did it. There was no pivot from Biden, and now there's no pivot from Trump. This stuff about a little bit more for your gas. It's not a little bit more. It's a lot more. And it's a lot more at a time. It'd be bad anytime, but it's a lot more at a time where people are already paying a lot more for a lot more stuff, and the tariffs and all the other things. And realistically, it's too late for him to pivot to save 2026. Whatever's going to happen sort of already baked in. Government doesn't move that fast, or the ramifications of government usually don't move that fast. But he's got a real issue about what he's going to do to save this party going forward, because Republicans could be in big trouble in 2028. All right, one more thing, and then we'll get to Jason. Best YouTube comments of the day, brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing. I don't necessarily have a hot take on this. I just thought it was interesting. This is according to The Hill. American drinking remains at a historically low level, with the survey released Thursday reporting the lowest levels of alcohol consumption since 1939. A new Gallup survey found the share of Americans who consume alcohol held at 54% for a second consecutive year. Self-reported drinking has been falling in recent years from 62% in 23, 58% in 24, and 54% in 25. That's a huge decline over a short period of time. And it got me thinking, and I don't really have a huge answer for this, which is why. I guess maybe it's people don't go out as much anymore. Oh, it's not DUIs. It's not that many. It's not that many. Yeah, but people always would have had a fear. I'll save that for you when you come on here, because I don't want to get in this debate while your microphone's not on. But, I mean, you're seeing an 8% drop in drinking in just 2 years. Gallup also noted that 51% of adult respondents said they believe drinking 1 to 2 alcoholic beverages a day is bad for one's health, while 40% said it makes no difference. Yeah, 1 or 2 a day is probably a bit much. But a lot of people socially drink. Is it because people don't go out anymore? Is it because in the post-COVID world, young people don't find the value in socializing like we used to? A study released in June in the Journal of Studies of Alcohol and Drugs found no benefits to moderate levels of drinking. It recommended that adults should limit themselves to 1 drink or less per day. He's desperate to try to get in on this, so let's go ahead and do it. It's time for the best YouTube comments of the day, brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing, where producer Jason scours the YouTube chat throughout the course of the program and then reads the best comments But first, you want to have this conversation?
When you were 21, what else was there to do? That was 20-some years ago.
Right.
What else was there to do for a 21-year-old looking to go out and meet women? Where was there to go?
I played the radio card. You can hear me on the radio.
And then you had to go to the bar to tell them you were on the radio. 20 years ago. Yeah, there was nothing to do but sit in bars and go out, and that's where you met. That's where most people met, got pregnant, got married, in that order. And you go to the bar, you get drunk, take somebody home, and eventually you get married. Or now you're just baby daddy. You're not married anymore. But there's so much more to do now. And the DUI laws, it's several $1,000s for a DUI. So I think that pulled a lot of. I would wonder that percentage you talked about there, 50-some%.
Yeah.
I would wonder
from 62 to 54 in 2 years.
Right. I would wonder what that percentage would be if you started at age 30. The 30-year-old and older, I bet it's even lower percentage because when you hit 21, you're going to go out and drink.
Right.
You're going to go out and do the thing. A lot of kids don't even do that. They'll drink at home.
Well,
so there's a difference in drinking at the bar, drinking at home. But it's just there's so much more to do now. And, of course, marijuana back 20 years ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago, whatever, even 10 years ago, it was easy to get. I mean, hell, you could get it in middle school, but it wasn't a thing where you'd sit around and just be stoned, where now these kids are doing that instead of, because they're at house parties and things like that. And they might still drink, but I don't think they don't drink like we used to drink.
Because, see, like Ben Verbanek and I had this conversation a couple weeks ago when we got together, and he was talking about how hard it is to meet people in terms of nobody goes out and like meets people in person anymore. The contacts are almost
Online
always made
dating, yeah.
online, and then maybe you go meet that person off of that. But there's no, like, that used to be
Tinder.
the fun of going out. Like, you see somebody out and you're like, that's a challenge.
Right.
What BS can I figure out in a short period of time to say to this person to convince them to continue to talk to me?
I could never do online dating. It's like ordering groceries on Amazon. I just can't do it. I got to see it, touch it, feel it, be right up there, compare it to the other options, and then make the decision. I can't just go online and do that. But by the way, how many Bob Seger singles went to number one, do you think? Because you have no Google in front of you. So how many would you say, how many number one singles would Bob Seger have had in his infamous career? One of the best rock and rollers of all time.
Well,
without Bob Seger, you wouldn't have had Mellencamp. Probably you wouldn't have had a lot of those Midwestern rockers. But how many number one singles?
0.
You're wrong. You had one. You would never guess in a million years. I guarantee you would never
guess.
Was it? Shakedown.
No kidding.
From the
Beverly Hills Cop too,
Shakedown, right? Shame on the Moon was the next one, which those are not the ones I like. Peaked at number 2 in 1983. Night Moves, 1977, only made it up to number 4.
Well, remember,
is that crazy?
He had a bunch of those songs before Live Bullet came out.
No. Live Bullet, if you listen to Live Bullet, it does not have a lot of his hits on there. He had Live Bullet, and then, there's no major hits on Live Bullet. It was just the live album was one of the best live albums. That and REO Speedwagon had 2 of the best rock and roll live albums.
Wait. But there's a bunch of those songs that you associate as Seger hits that are on Live Bullet.
You can't name them. Can you? It's the second
Beautiful Traveling Man, Beautiful Loser.
Okay, but those weren't the Bob Seger hits. Those were good rock and roll songs.
But
Those
that's what I'm
weren't
saying.
hits.
Like, a bunch of people went back and found
Radio
those songs
were
afterwards.
The second live album had Night Moves, Still the Same, Against the Wind, all that. Those was what people would remember. The first live album, which was great. I mean, Live Bullet, that's what I grew up on. First concert I ever went to, Bob Seger in 7th grade with my mom.
No kidding.
Yeah. And
that was
and that was before Old Time Rock and Roll came out. Because
was it at Market Square Arena?
Yeah, Market Square. Old Time Rock and Roll
What
was
year?
coming out. It had been about 77, 78, something like that. The first time I ever heard Old Time Rock and Roll was when he played. He's like, hey, we got a new song coming out.
Oh, that's cool.
And he sat down at the piano, and that's like the only thing I remember. He sat down at the piano and just started jamming, right? Like just him on the piano, like a boogie-woogie, blue, like whatever. And then the band would kick in, and because they eventually got to the da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh.
I think maybe, because they hadn't used it in the movie yet. So that was the first time I ever heard it. I remember hearing that.
I would have guessed 0 because I just thought a lot of his stuff was early, and then he got sort of noticed for it later.
A lot of his stuff was more an R&B type of rock and roll.
Oh, yeah, he goes into this with Interview with Costas, how at like 55 to 57, because Seeger's older. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not like 100, but
Turn the Page. Yeah, Josh Richardson is correct. Turn the Page would have been one major hit off of Live Bullet would have been Turn the Page.
But on terrestrial radio, like Traveling Man, Beautiful Loser, like those are all...
Yeah, they still play that, but that's about it. You don't. If you go back and look at the songs on Live Bullet, there's very few that were really played massively on the radio. Now, at the time, in the 70s, they probably were, but they're not the hits. Like those, only 2 or 3, Jody's Girl and Working for the MCA and Let It Rock and Catmandu.
Yeah, that's the other one. That's a huge one.
But those are great songs, but those weren't hits per se.
But he was talking with Costas about that and saying that, so he, the early 50s, he would have been, 10 years old, right, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And because I think Seeger's 80 or 81 now. But he was saying in this interview, and again, he was in his mid-40s at the time, so it's so weird to seem like he still had the jet black hair and everything. And he was saying, and the other thing that was wild is in the middle of the interview, it's TV interview, he starts smoking a cigarette, which is like, it was, 91.
Of course, he had throat cancer, I believe, didn't he? Or
Did
something
he?
Like that. Yeah, I think that's why he had to cut it out for a a long time. He had to cut touring and everything.
Well, he quit for a while because he had kids.
Yeah, I think he had the throat cancer.
Anyway,
I could be wrong.
But he was talking about growing up in the 50s, and he was saying that period of like 55 to 58, all those artists and all those R&B artists, that inspired him to want to be great on the radio. It was a fascinating interview. It was like 40 minutes, and I got done. I was like, I can't believe I spent 40 minutes on this. And now it's 12:30, and I got to be up at 5:30 to put the template together.
If your water heater, water softener, well pump goes out, even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. Black Sheep Plumbing can do the job right at a fraction of the cost. Owner John McKinney, he's a Hoosier lifer, takes great pride, stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call John, Black Sheep Plumbing, 765-315-7558, 765-315-7558, Black Sheep Plumbing. All right. So the big to do in the how many Jason, how many number one songs did Jimi Hendrix have? Asked Spray Jockey. Couldn't tell you. That was before my time.
I don't think he had any.
I was never really into the whole 60s.
I don't think he had any.
And early 70s.
I got an A+ in the history of Jimmy. That was an actual class at IUPUI. I got an A++, 104% history of Jimi Hendrix.
Shows why it says a lot about our education system.
It was a 400 level class too.
Yeah. All right. So, okay, Rock Laws was first in the chat last night.
All right.
I was there. I saw him. I was creeping in. Saw him. Everybody's in an uproar about the XP points. YouTube. Apparently, they broke the MLM Warriors broke YouTube or something by getting too many points, and they don't give us points anymore. Now, instead of 25 points or 75 points an hour, they're getting like 5, and then they get 25, and then they lose them, and everybody's in a tizzy. So I don't know anything about that, guys. That has nothing to do with us. That's YouTube. It was just a thing we kind of did. Then it kind of turned into a whole thing, and I looked it up. They said it's experimental, and if it's, I don't know, maybe because we had so many people on so much that they throttled it down or something. And, all you people that complaining about your XP points, you're sucking data.
That's right.
There's some poor schlub sitting there next door to a data center.
That's right.
And his lights are going dim.
Yeah.
And his water pressure's a lot lower because you guys are jacking up those XP points. So I hope you remember that. Okay. We start this morning with Kenneth Egold. Points are still broken. The points are broken. MLM Warriors explains, XP points is controlled by YouTube. Someone would need to chat with YouTube to get the XP points fixed. Jason does not have enough time in the day to worry about XP points.
That's right. Yes.
That is correct, sir. It's Friday. I'm going home. MLM Warriors, today we are chatting free of XP points. It's about the chat, guys.
Yes, it's about the community.
It's not a pinball game.
We didn't even know there were points for a while.
Driver, perhaps the data center is down and we need to cheer it up. All right, you guys are sucking that juice right out of the data center. They're going to have to add another wing
to the data center.
Yeah. Josh Richardson. Debbie, talking to Debbie Holcomb. Been a suck week at work. I'm determined. Josh Richardson. I'm determined to have the Rob Kendall Show brighten my spirits and coast me into a fantastic weekend.
It's a positive attitude.
That's
I like
right,
that.
Josh.
That's
Hopefully,
very good.
Hopefully your spirits have been fulfilled by Rob. Kevin Hawthorne, good morning from Lakeland, Florida.
Oh, hello, Kevin. Hello.
There we go. Jack the Libertarian, happy Friday, everyone. In case you did not know, our governor is still an idiot.
Oh.
That's what Jack said, not the show. These are the comments of the chatters, not Rob or me. MLM Warriors, I have been guessing yellow all week until last night. See, you got to stick with your pick. You got to stick with it.
There you
Eventually, you're going to get it. The odds are it'll come.
When I put this shirt on this morning, I always look, and
it's a good look for you. The
said
purple and yellow seems to be you're like an Easter bunny or something.
I said somebody's going to guess yellow. I'm going to make somebody happy today.
Debbie Holcomb. Aw, dang. Nice yellow shirt. Great job, Ma Kendall. Yes. She did a fabulous job.
Yeah, so they're all fine. And I've got a new one that I'm going to wear probably Monday.
Oh, everybody will have to get in on the weekend and figure out what color that one's going to be. 06010 board, universal health care is great, ? But the same benefit to education is a problem. Tom Heller, put a wheel tax on the parents that drive their kids to school, clogging up nearby road network as they wait 20 to 30 minutes in the afternoon. By my house, we have a middle school, and what happens is it's a four-way stop, and it backs up like a mile because people will pull up to the four-way stop. They can't turn into the school because everybody's lined up, and so they just sit there with their turn signal on waiting, and it's like you could go up and turn around and come, and the cops are sitting, and it's just everybody just sits at a standstill until one more car moves, and then that car will turn in, and then the next car up has this. It's crazy. I mean, I don't understand. Can't these kids walk?
Well, I mean, okay, a couple of things. One, you know where I live. I'm surrounded by the Brownsburg school campus.
I mean, do we have school buses?
Well, I always walked to school, or, I might apparently, if it's rain or whatever, have a parent, friend take me. We had a couple parents lived around. We'd take turns driving if it rained or whatever. Parents would. But I always walked. I walked to junior high. I walked to elementary school. I walked to high school.
I mean, it's just crazy that, I mean, I understand maybe your kid doesn't want to take the bus. You don't want your kid walking in the rain and the snow at dark and that get hit by a car and everything else crossing the street because people are crazy. But it's like there's got to be a system. If they're going to build a brand new $1 billion school, they should build some sort of place to drop your kid off so it doesn't take away from the people trying to get to work.
Well, I mean, like where I live,
so it's not the parents' fault. It's
radio
the
show.
School's fault.
They built that road in my neighbor's, it wasn't mine, it's the other side of the street, but they're basically in their backyard. And there used to not be a problem with traffic getting out in the morning. They built this road, this new way to do it. And now that the traffic backs up all the way down the main, I don't know. I mean,
we didn't see that coming. We're only educators. We can't think that far ahead.
Here's what I say about letting your kids walk to school. Okay? My parents were very adamant with me. Don't ever talk to a stranger. No person's ever going to pull up and...
Well, that was 40 years ago, Rob.
It was not 40 years ago. I'm not that old. But my parents
were... the molester. Well, there weren't as many of them.
My parents were adamant. No person's ever going to pull up and say that we told them to give you a ride. Don't get in a car with a stranger. You walk home. It was like a block from my house. You just walk home. You walk home with a few friends who had a house near there. Everybody stays together. Don't talk to any strangers. You get home. What happened to those days? Those days are over, it looks like.
Anthony Gary, Indy Dwell. Happy Friday, beautiful people. There we go. Driver, kids are valuable. If you homeschool, do the parents get paid? You still pay taxes for the other kids to be sent to public or private schools.
Fair. I think the kids who homeschool should get paid.
Gravity Hill Gambler, the schools aren't bad. It's the people in them. Poor parenting is a big problem. Yeah, we do blame the teachers a lot, but those kids are punks. A lot of them are just, they're inconsiderate, rude, disrespectful. Around their parents, they're little angels.
But a lot of them aren't even that anymore. This is where the growth stuff, right? Like, they approved this massive apartment complex.
Not your children. The people listening, we're not talking about your children.
By Meyer in Brownsburg last night. It's like 272 apartment complex. It's like, why the hell would you do that? Like, why? 500 more people in our town. Like, every time you do this, you dilute the sense of community. Every time you jam more people in. And part of being a part of community meant everybody's parents kind of knew each other or knew about each other, and you were embarrassed if your kid was a screw-up. Like, people's kids weren't screw-ups, or if they were, they kept it screwed up in the house because they didn't want to be embarrassed in public.
Right.
Now people don't care because nobody knows anybody
now the more embarrausing you are, the more, like, points you get.
Yeah, you probably get on TikTok or something.
Yeah, exactly. What was this? Wino Gina, there's homeschool deduction on taxes.
How much?
I don't know. She didn't specify.
Oh.
She's just letting us know. I didn't know that, so that's good information. Wino Gina. Boom, boom, boom. That's a good point there, Gravity Hill Gambler and Theller. Boom, boom, boom. Let's continue on. Ethan Hatcher. Let's see what kind of point Ethan has. Rob's sunny yellow shirt is in stark contrast to his fiery, no-nonsense personality, and I am enjoying the juxtaposition today. 06010
It's always
board.
so wordy.
06010 board. The position is juxta.
He's always so wordy.
Gravity Hill Gambler. People want to move out of the city to he's hitting another point here. Who are you, Gravity Hill Gambler? People want to move out of the city to a nicer area, but don't know how to act in a nicer area. Just watch people in Indy throw trash out their window and act like it's normal. Nail on the head.
Yeah.
Moving to the suburbs, and I want to get my kid away from the bad apples and the bad seeds and away from the bad kids. Your kid's the one that's causing the problem, and you're bringing them in and corrupting the other kids. That's the way I always felt. Okay, Sue Seifert. We will be a better society when kids are in homes with two parents, mom stays home, and kids learn at home. There, yes, I said it. It's a lie that we have to have huge houses, cars, and lots of toys.
It's a woman who said that, right?
That's a woman who said that.
Perfect.
That's Sue Seifert. She owns it as well.
Perfect, Sue.
Yep. 06010 board. When a parent does take their child to a private school, that school gets 90% of what the state would have paid the public school. The other 10% still goes to the public school.
Yeah, they technically make money off the kid not going to the because you don't have to educate the kid.
Larsive. Probably ought to change that name. We paid for, so I can pronounce it better. We paid for 6 kids to do private school, while we also paid taxes for them to have a seat at a public school they didn't use.
Yeah, that's bad.
I don't know though. You got to build the buildings and stuff, and I think it all should be privatized.
All of education.
What could go wrong? Just like the prisons. Driver.
Well, I mean, if you think about if you made education, like you go to college. I went to IUPUI.
Mm-hmm.
My degree is not nearly as impressive, whether it was as good an education or not, as somebody who went to Harvard, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if you made high schools that way, where they had to strive to be better? Like you get a high school diploma from this high school, and that's way more impressive than you get in a high school from another diploma from another high school, and then that like actually forced the school systems rather than, well, you got a high school diploma, it's sort of the same for everybody. Where you went to school, what if it actually mattered?
Driver. Oh, crap. Rob is a wizard. He is a shock jock and bullied lawmakers to pass a law he didn't support. Next thing you know, he's going to make them drag the Bears into Indiana.
That guy spent like 2 days fighting with people in and around and about me from his anonymous account. I was like, what is going on in your world?
I don't know why you give the people with the anonymous accounts credibility don't just
if I can laugh about it and prove a point, I will use them. I don't like fight with them unless they say something I can chuckle at and retweet and use
the
for
bots.
fun.
Yeah, the bots. You can tell the people.
But what is going on in that
fake
person's
accounts,
existence?
basically.
What sort of family life does that person
Well, they've got
have?
a regular account, then they create a new one just so they can go fight with everybody, and that should be pretty easy for Facebook to delete those or get rid of those, but they don't. 0601 board. I'm outraged before I hear the audio. I believe he's talking about the Cohen interview.
Cohen, that was bad.
Pre-rage, he says. Steve Green with an E. Please don't play any sound from that interview. Too late.
Look, full disclosure, I was doing a bunch of stuff last night. I did the template this morning, so I got up, a little after 5 to start doing it, and I saw it, and I was like, no way. And I started listening to it. I was like, this is unbelievable he did that interview.
Okay, jumping backwards real quick, LD Stoltz, it's $1,000 per kid for the tax write-off if you homeschool. All right. Didn't have that when I homeschooled ours, but okay. Did I pay taxes? Okay. Steve Green with an E. Please, okay, don't play any sound from that. The Chris Chafin. Love the Trump impersonation, Rob. Yeah. Drew. Oh, Bob, spare the pearl clutching and outrage. I don't know. I guess I'm not sure. He was talking still about the Trump interview.
Oh.
Yeah. Rock Laws, Trump. Oh, I'm sorry. Rob is so good doing Trump. Let's see. LD Stoltz, when was this interview?
I think it was just the other day.
Okay. He's just asking.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday.
Okay.
That's why everybody was playing it.
Shrog Samich, morning family. I got to clarify something from yesterday. I'll be live painting the scene at Rust's party. I offer drawings, but I don't do that live for crowds anymore because I need a camera person. So Shrog will be at John Rust's 250th birthday party. She'll be painting the overall scene. You know, like you go to the beach and you see somebody there, they're painting the beach, the scene. They're not painting certain people. They're just giving the overall look.
Gotcha.
So that's what Shrog will be doing. Looking forward to seeing that. She's a fabulous artist. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Josh Richardson, thankfully, Trump told me the economy is doing so well. I was beginning to think things were not so hot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Trump
I think, and I thought this with Biden,
him.
and we said this on the old show all the time. It pisses people off when you deny their existence. Right? Like, you know your existence. You know what's going on. And when you keep trying to tell people, no, what you're experiencing is not what you're experiencing, I think that really angers people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Josh Richardson, thankfully, did I just say that one? Yes, thankfully Trump told me the economy. Vic Ferrari, Trump is losing his fastball, obviously. Mad Duck, quote, you'll pay a lot more, but it's fine. It will be fine. You can afford it. That would sound better in a Trump voice.
What was the quote?
You'll pay a lot more, but it's fine. It will be fine. You can afford it.
You'll pay a lot more, but it's fine. It's fine. You can afford it.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
That's the last one of the day. That takes a lot out of the...
Yeah, probably hurt your voice. The Chris Chafin, once again. There was one gas station in Iowa that had gas for $1.85 the day Trump was in town, and he was all over it. So he went to one place. They probably artificially lowered it for the camera.
That's so funny.
Yep. Jan 17. Yeah, he saw it, $1.85 in Iowa. Nobody lives in Iowa.
And that's what he uses as his talking point of gas because somebody convinced him that was what the actual price of gas was.
Right. Brooksy, morning to the best and most informed chatter. Something like, when did I miss the $1.85 gas? Again, it's very hard to defend this president. It is harder and harder, and we still got 2 years to go. The old man 68, Diego is the poster child as to why DEI should be banned.
Look, I think the thing with
Republicans trying a little DEI action there.
Well, I just think Ballard got roped into.
Look, we're not all white guys.
I mean,
we got a criminal over here, but hey,
we're fair on this show, and you know, I whether I vote for Ballard or not, I don't know. I want him to do well because I want people to be able to participate in the political process. But he got totally roped on that, and the fact that he allowed. I mean, look, it is not the radio show host's fault if you go on their show and they act like they've always acted.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know you're going on that show, which doesn't have a name, and.
Show to be named later.
You know, you have to know that guy is totally on the side of the Republicans. He's a Republican cheerleader. That's his right. You go on there, you know he's going to ask that question. And let's face it, he asked that question because he knows it's not going to look good for you. And Ballard seemed ill-prepared for it. That's on Ballard. It's not on the radio host.
C. Mills. Oh, Christopher. But also, I got an ambulance bill from when I was in the hospital after insurance. It's $5,000.
Okay, so this is a true story. When my wife and I were dating, this would have been early 2021.
Mm-hmm.
She gets up in the middle of the night. And she goes, I think I'm having a heart attack. And I was like, you're whatever she was, 22 years old or whatever.
Dealing with Rob Kendall.
Said, you're not having a heart attack. I said, sure. She goes, well, it feels like I'm having a heart attack. So she goes in the bathroom. She's like, I'm really not feeling good. I said, okay, well, let's just go ahead and go to the emergency room then. If you think you're having a heart attack, let's go. She's like, no, it'll be really expensive. And she's laying on the floor. And I said, if the ambulance has to come get you, it's going to be a hell of a lot more expensive than we just go now. And we went. and she needed to have her gallbladder out. So she had a reason to be down there. But I told her, I was like, I can drive you right now. You're not in cardiac arrest. I said, you know what an ambulance costs? Let's get in the car and let's go.
She still married you. That's just crazy.
And she went.
Yep.
And I got her there in one piece.
All right. C. Mills, Rob on the 75-inch TV with surround sound is really a totally different experience.
There you go.
CK, that's SEEKAY. Everyone smash that like button. Show this patriot some love.
Smash it.
All right. Boom, boom, boom. C. Mills again. I feel like for a while there was like, okay, he said there's something like our plants we're becoming plant. What do you say here? Okay, let's get serious. Is it me or are we losing plants? I feel like for a while there were like 5 plants. Now there are 3. Did we add plants, then take them away? I have not touched the plants. They're growing. Well, they're not really growing either, but they're not dying. But no, there's 1, 2, 3 there. There's one little one behind the Rob Kendall sign. There's another one behind that, another corn stalk over there. So there's 3 on that side. Yeah, that side with the sign. And then there are 2, the banana plant and another. No, are there 3 over here on the other side or just 2? Looks like 3. We got 6 plants.
Jason and I talked. We got to clean this place up next week. I'm bringing a sweeper in. Evan Bye's supposed to be with us next week. We can't have him walking in and seeing this place looking like this. No. Bo, we don't care, but Evan, we can't have a former senator and governor.
Oh, Evan's dad's coming.
Yeah, it's Evan.
Oh, it's not Bo.
No, it's Evan.
Oh, what's he coming on for?
He to be on our show. What do you mean?
Well, I didn't mean it like that. I just the whole time I thought,
why the hell would he want to be here?
Yeah,
we can't have a former governor and a senator coming in this place looking like this.
Bo went home and said, "Dad, it's really cool. You should see their studio." You think I could get an interview? You think Rob would let me come in and interview me? We'd have to check with producer Jason, Dad, but I bet if you're really nice, he'd let you come in and water his plants.
You always know the important people because they got people who do the booking for them, right? When you got to go through a person to get a person. And I'm sure he will be informed on Thursday what he's doing Friday, and he's going to be like, who the hell is Rob Kendall? I'm going where? Doing what? He's going to call Bo and we go, what did you get me into? Oh, you're going to love it, man.
Yeah, wait till you see the secret passageway you have to go through to get to their hidden studio. All right.
Well, we got to sweep this place. We can't have him seeing it like this.
That's right. Kevin Branham, come on, people. Hit the like button. Yes, even though you're not getting points, just give us that like, please. Andy Engel, I think Merritt should, that'd be Jim Merritt, who was our guest today. I think Merritt should throw Rob a curveball sometime and say, hello, Bob.
It's a catchphrase. Yeah. He needs to put it on a shirt.
Robert.
Hello, Robert.
06010 board. Can't have his afternoon nap knowing so many failed to hit the like button. Not sure who that is.
Me.
I
don't take many afternoon naps anymore. I got a lot of paperwork and stuff to do now.
Right.
I did take one yesterday, though.
Okay. Wino Gina, thanks for the reminder at Kevin Branham to hit that like button. She hit the like button. We thank you. Shrog Sandwich giving us an update. I just got off the phone with Braun, Todd Young, and Jim Banks' offices. $15 million to fund Israel startups in Indiana? ? In caps, we do not comply. Please join me and call these. And she had a dirty word there. If you want to see that, you got to go to the chat. It's one only dirty word. Well, it's not really a dirty word. It's just I'm not saying it. But I tried to ban all the dirty words, and they still find a way to get around them. Very creative chat we have. Driver, Braun under oath is one thing we get out of this as taxpayers if it goes down.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I can't imagine they're going to let that happen, though. Can you imagine Braun under oath?
Were you talking to Merritt about St. Elmo's? Was that part of the conversation?
Andy Zay dude, he ran up that tab at St. Elmo's.
Yeah, Bowden JM, $1,900 at St. Elmo's is very easy. C. Mills, 3 people at St. Elmo's is a decent $450, and I'm not an excessive. And I'm not excessive either. Rock Laws, when I get food all over my tie, I buy a new one from the Cosmo Kramer tie machine. Because he bought a tie, didn't he? He
bought, I think, multiple ties and scarves.
We would have scarf. That's just okay. Vic Ferrari. I paid for 4 people at Ruth's Chris years ago, and it was over $600. If you're spending other people's money, I can easily see $2,000. Wino Gina. If there were 7 people that each had $100 worth of food, then $1,200 can be split among 5 bottles of wine. It's expensive wine. I don't drink wine, but wine's a couple $100 a bottle or whatever.
It's like $10 at the Kroger.
Boone's Farm. Can I get the strawberry? Winogina. It's about $200 a bottle. Debbie Holcomb. Certainly not a headline you'd want out there. Vic Ferrari. I honestly can't figure out why anybody's watching Statehouse happenings with these type of people on it. He's not a fan.
Who was that said that?
He can't listen any longer. He's later skaters.
Who was this?
Vic Ferrari. Vic's not a fan of...
Yeah, because, who would want some guy who spent 30 years in the Senate telling you how the Statehouse is working? There's definitely somebody with more experience out there.
MLM Warriors at producer Jason. Merritt in the morning. Will Rob clip those interviews or will you?
That'll be me.
The interview that we just did.
No. Like he's saying that I'm going to pull audio when they interview all the Secretary of State candidates.
Oh.
I pull the audio.
Oh, okay. Rob does that. I told Rob I don't do audio. That's what I used to have to do at the old station, and I thought it was silly. I didn't want to do it, so I'm not doing it here. Told Rob, you want audio? You cut it yourself. There we go. Winogina, I think the Democrats are less afraid of Rob than the rhinos.
Oh, yeah, the Republicans hate me more than the Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
Doubt. Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
No.
McLovins, great interview. Always enjoy when Jim is on. LD Stoltz, $21 trillion in 10 years is insane.
That's wild, isn't it?
Yeah. Driver, $40 trillion in debt. That means if it tracks with what has done with the past, when I retire in 30 years, the debt will have tripled to $120 trillion. That's probably a low number. C. Mills, Al Gore. Okay, now we're talking about the environment.
Oh, yeah. The EPA suspending the ethanol stuff, yes.
That's what I meant. C. Mills, Al Gore told us we should all be dead by now.
That's right.
Yet here
Polar
we are.
bears floating down the Monon.
Andy Engel, remember the 70s? Time magazine had a cover article stating we were all going to freeze to death.
Global cooling was the original Earth Day.
Yep. Shrog Sandwich. Start a GoFundMe, Rob. You would raise that money immediately to run for governor.
10 million's a lot.
10 million, that's only $1.42 per person in the state of 7 million people. If you got kids, you got to pay the freight, pay that household bill. Got 3 or 4 kids, it's still only $5 or $6.
I told you, I think if I could find one person to give me $3 million, I could raise the rest of it. Like if somebody stepped up and said, I will cede the $3 million, I think I could use that to raise the rest of it.
Would you have to get signatures? Oh, I guess if you're running, would you run as a Republican?
Oh, no.
I mean, you're in good standing.
Well, yeah, that's true. Maybe. I don't want to lose my good standing.
Right. Well, so the option would be the Lincoln Party. What if you ran as a Democrat?
That would actually be the best strategy for the Democrats if they just said, look, this guy's going to pull 30-40% of Republicans. He's going to give us some boards and commission seats. We'll get along with him better than no Democrat has a chance anyway. All Democrats vote for him. Yeah, he's going to kind of govern as a Republican, but at least we get something versus nothing. That would be a great strategy. Can you imagine if you could pull that off? That'd be unbelievable.
LD Stoltz is wondering where the time check is. Usually now you give me a time check.
Well, it's time for us to go. I got to work tonight.
All right, but I got a couple more comments, and then we'll get to it. Spray Jockey. Okay, you talked about Walmart. You'd put their logo on your shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And Spray Jockey points out if you lose, you could be the greeter.
At the Walmart?
At the Walmart. Or you could be greeter on the side.
I'll just come back to this.
There you go.
The one great thing about doing this is I wouldn't have to quit.
That's true.
It's not the radio. It's not
what
governed
I got
by,
to do. So
it's not favored. It's not run by the government.
Throw me a few shekels, and here I am.
Yeah.
Josh Richardson, thank you, John Rust, for hour 3. Kevin Branham, thanks, John Rust, for hour 3. C. Mills, I've gotten my golden ticket from the to the John Rust event. Oh, I've not gotten my golden ticket to the John Rust event yet. C. Mills, you probably just recently RSVP'd. You should have been on top of that. John will get you that RSVP, I'm sure. Brooksy, let's get likes up in honor of Rust for America and no rain today.
That's right.
Driver, 3rd hour. Time to thank John Rust. Rock Laws, thanks, John Rust. Driver, also shout out to Black Sheep Plumbing for the chats to wrap up our Friday, even if the points are messed up. Rock Laws, thanks, Black Sheep Plumbing. Shrog Sandwich, I'm very excited to paint at the Rust party. We all will do our part. I'll be there to eat cake.
Yep.
Yep, that's it. I'll show up, eat cake, and no presents are needed. Okay, we're gonna do the points one last time because the points are getting out of hand, and obviously YouTube is playing with us. So, whoops, was it today the 19th? No, today's the 21st.
21st.
Okay, sorry, hang on, hold on. Here we go. I've got 0 points. That's BS. I was in the chat last night. Who do I complain to? All right.
Stolen election. Stop the steal.
Yeah, they didn't even give us our full number of chatters either. That's okay. So this is our very final points race. No more points. We're retiring the points race. Kenneth Egold, 50 points. Debbie Holcomb, 75. Nice to be Green. That's Steve Green's wife with an E. She keeps him in line. 75 points. We chatted last night. She's a very nice lady. Oh, but she was beaten by Mr. Green with an E. 125. She let him win. You know she did.
Totally.
It's the way the good women are. McLovin's 125 points. Number 5, Josh Richardson, 150 points. Driver, 150 points. Rusty B at 175 points. Number 3. MLM Warriors, 175 points at number 2. And Rock Laws barely edged everyone out. Number 1, 200 points.
There you
go. It's an all-time low for a high. So the chat will be up at 6 p.m. this evening, guys. 6 p.m. You can go in, chat up with the family. Don't worry about the points. They may come back. They may not. But we've had fun with all that, and we'll move on to just chatting. So thanks to John Rust for Hour 3. Thanks to John McKinney from Black Sheep Plumbing for allowing me to be on the air with the chat. Do appreciate that. And have a great weekend, everybody. See you. So long.
And that is going to do it for us today. Thanks for another amazing week, guys. If you haven't done so yet, give us that little thumbs up button before you leave today. It really helps us out. And you guys have an awesome weekend. Take care of yourself. We'll look forward to seeing you back here Monday at 9 until noon. For producer Jason, I'm Rob Kendall. You've been listening to Rob Kendall Show.